Chapter 1340. Yu Lily laughed, and Yi Qianqian and Yi Yuyu couldn't help laughing. Su Qianxi held her forehead, gritted her teeth helplessly, and shouted, "Li Ersu." Hearing this, Li Jianhua shrank her neck, hugged her father's neck, and said pitifully, "I didn't tell Dad, I told my brother." Su Qianxi walked over unhappily. Li Jianhua was scared and almost cried. She hugged her father's neck and cried, "Daddy, save me," sob sob sob. Li Xicheng frowned, looked at Su Qianxi, and asked, "What happened?" "Nothing, maybe Qianqian hasn't had a good rest recently, or maybe she has low blood sugar. She almost fainted in the pool just now. Fortunately, Yu Yu held her, otherwise she would have been dead." Yu Lily was not afraid at all. She looked at Su Qianxi and stuck out her tongue. Li Xicheng put his daughter on Luo Zhan's side and walked toward Su Qianxi. Su Qianxi looked at Yu Lily and then took a step back. She looked at Li Xicheng and explained, "It's not as bad as they said. It's okay." Li Xicheng didn't care. He reached out and touched her forehead, asking, "What's wrong?" "I'm not uncomfortable, I." Su Qianxi was a little embarrassed and blushed. "No, everyone is out to play. Don't make them unhappy. What's wrong with you?" Li Xicheng reached out and opened her palm, looked at it, and then stared at her face. "Your face is pale. Let's go to the hospital." Su Qianxi was embarrassed. She pulled her hand back and said, "I don't have makeup, of course. Don't make a fuss. Let's go." Li Xicheng didn't understand what Su Qianxi meant. "Third brother, Luo Zhan, help me look after the child." "Why don't I drive you and sister-in-law there, second brother?" Li Jinan walked over, standing tall and straight, frowning slightly, overflowing with worry and concern. Yi Yuyu saw it clearly and suddenly felt sympathy for Li Jinan. "Why did it have to be me? But I have to say that Su Qianxi is indeed a very good woman." "Aya, brother-in-law, why are you joining in the fun?" Su Qianxi blushed even more. She buried her face in Li Xicheng's arms and buried her face in his chest. Her heart was beating faster and faster. She said coquettishly, "Stop making a fuss. I know the reason, but I'm not sure." His voice was so low that only Li Xicheng and Su Qianxi could hear it. Seeing her face getting redder and redder, Li Xicheng relaxed. Her reaction proved that it wasn't a big deal. With this thought in mind, Li Xicheng felt relieved. Touching her cheek, he said, "We're all family. Why are you so shy? How can you be so shy?" She did not want to, but, being watched by so many people, she was nervous. Moreover, she did not dare to come to a conclusion on that matter. She was also conflicted in her heart whether she should say it or not. "It's okay. Second brother, you just like to make a fuss. Sister-in-law is in good health. Let's go eat." Luo Zhan said, his voice not low. "Let's go, Miss Yi, and my sister-in-law Oh." A group of people were called by Luo Zhan and walked together, and the three children were taken away by Li Jinan. Chapter 1341. Could it be? Su Qianxi felt that Li Xicheng might have already guessed it. After all, Li Xicheng was such a smart person. However, Li Xicheng's words almost made Su Qianxi fall. "Could it be that you were too tired last night?" Su Qianxi blushed even more. She reached out and hit him, saying, "Go away." Li Xicheng chuckled and hugged her tightly. He whispered in her ear, "Could it be that the children are going to have a younger brother or sister?" Su Qianxi paused and looked up at him, blinking her watery eyes. Li Xicheng raised his eyebrows and curled his lips. He kissed Su Qianxi's lips, hugged her slender body tighter, and asked softly, "Really? Is it like this?" Su Qianxi didn't know what to say. She just felt a little like when she was pregnant, but, she wasn't sure. "Answer me, is it?" Li Xicheng's mood was getting higher and higher. He was excited and happy, and he didn't hide it. I. Su Qianxi saw him like that and couldn't help but smile secretly. She pushed him away. I don't know. It's not up to me. The smile on Li Xicheng's face widened. He looked at the line in front of him and whispered, let's go to the hospital and have a checkup, okay? No. Let's go tomorrow. What's the rush? Su Qianxi was a little embarrassed and a little repulsed. Lily's health is not good. Don't show it in front of her. Ming and the others had roughly told her about Lily's situation. If they knew that Su Qianxi was likely to have another child, with Lily's sensitivity, she would probably blame herself. Su Qianxi didn't dare to say it in front of Lily. In addition to not being sure, this was also part of the reason. Li Xicheng couldn't help but tighten his grip on her and chuckled. Su Qianxi couldn't help but chuckle and push him away. Go away. But who knew that Li Xicheng not only didn't go away, but also laughed even more wildly. He picked her up and said, my wife is great. His voice was not low. Su Qianxi was shocked and exclaimed. She subconsciously put her arms around his neck and looked in the direction of the team. Fortunately, the team had disappeared. Su Qianxi breathed a sigh of relief and said in a low voice, put me down. You scared me. Li Xicheng put her down and couldn't help but kiss her on the lips. This time, I can watch the birth of the child. I can make milk powder for the child, change diapers. I can do everything a father can do. Holding her in his arms, he was a bit emotional. Let's go buy a pregnancy test tonight. Tomorrow, we will go to the hospital for a checkup. Whether it's real or just a mistake, let's have another baby, okay? She could clearly feel his vocal cords vibrating. His heart was beating fast, strong and healthy. This was the real Li Xicheng, the Li Xicheng who was by her side. The lack of fatherly love for the children for more than 4 years was his biggest regret. Su Qianxi knew and completely understood. Silently hugging him tightly, Su Qianxi leaned into his arms and said only one word, okay. Chapter 1342. She stood on her tiptoes and smiled brightly. You're welcome, Mr. Li. Lily's heart was still a little empty. She hadn't seen Ming for an entire afternoon. This guy wasn't like this in the past. I haven't seen him for so long. Did he go home? Everyone was sitting at the table in the private room. Seeing Lily's absent-minded look, Luo Zhan coughed and said, Sister-in-law, oh, what are you thinking about? Lily looked at Luo Zhan and smiled. Humph. But after that snort, there was no more sound. Luo Zhan was a little confused. When he saw the gloating looks around him, he immediately coughed and asked, what's wrong? What did I do? Where did Ming go? Be honest. Lily took a sip of tea and looked at Luo Zhan. She raised her eyebrows slightly. You must know where he is. Luo Zhan's eyes immediately drifted away. He turned his head away and said, I don't know. Ming didn't tell me where he went. How would I know? Lily slammed the teacup on the table and stood up. She picked up her phone and walked out. Fine. Well, this great-aunt was obviously unhappy. Luo Zhan complained in his heart, but he quickly ran up and shouted, Sister-in-law, wait a minute. Lily turned her head and glanced at him. Ming will be back soon. Sit down. Luo Zhan walked up and gently pushed her to the table. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Li Xicheng and his wife coming back hand in hand. He felt relieved and said, Second sister-in-law, come and eat. Daddy, sit here. She waved at Li Xicheng and patted the seat next to her. Mommy, sit next to Daddy. In short, he wouldn't let Su Qianxi sit next to him. The little guy felt a little guilty and didn't dare to look at Su Qianxi, afraid that she would scold him. It wasn't just Su Qianxi who saw it. Everyone else saw it too. Lily smiled and walked to the side. She said, I'd better give O Ming a call. You can go back and sit down. Sister-in-law, ahem, take a seat. O Ming will be back in less than 10 minutes. Yu Lily didn't believe it, but when she saw Luo Zhan's confident expression, she sat down. 10 minutes later, Yu Lily still hadn't seen O Ming. Looking at the time, Yu Lily stood up. Suddenly, all the lights around her dimmed. The sudden darkness gave the children a fright. When Li Jianhua saw this, she called out, "Daddy!" "Dad is here," Li Xicheng said in a low voice. Li Xicheng held his daughter in one hand and his wife in the other. "Third brother." "Yeah." Li Jinan stood beside the two boys and gently placed his large, warm hands on them. The sudden change also made Yu Lily a little frightened. She looked around and asked, "Luo Zhan, what happened?" However, as soon as he finished speaking, an orange-yellow ray of light suddenly shot toward this place from a short distance away. "Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you." His voice was magnetic, gentle, and clean. The familiar voice made Yu Lily subconsciously turn her head to look at the source of the voice. Chapter 1343. The clean and magnetic voice seemed to come from the distant Milky Way. It penetrated through the stars in the universe and seeped into her soul, easily stirring her heart. O Ming had already changed into a burgundy suit. He walked over slowly with a big cake in his hands. On the cake, a circle of candles was lit. There were exactly 25 candles. On the edge of the cake, two beautiful cartoon characters were drawn. But the lines were crooked, and she could barely make out that they were a man and a woman. "Ah!" Li Jianhua stood up and looked over. A pair of black eyes stared at the cake and shouted, "Is today Auntie Lily's birthday?" The sweet voice of the little girl broke this moment of romantic silence. O Ming smiled and walked over. He stopped in front of Yu Lily and said, "I'm returning the birthday I owed you this year. Happy birthday." Yu Lily's eyes suddenly felt hot. Hot liquid overflowed and wet her eyes. This year's birthday was celebrated by Shenjilia and Yi Qianqian. This year's birthday, O Ming didn't attend. Yu Lily hadn't expected that this guy would remember it and choose a time when there were so many people around to celebrate it for her. Is he going to give me face? Where have you been all afternoon? Yu Lily looked at him and rebuked him. Then, she looked down at the cake in front of her and chuckled. "It's so ugly." O Ming saw her reaction and frowned. "Is it really ugly? It shouldn't be too ugly. The taste. It should be okay." The cake was very big, and the cartoon pattern on it was even bigger. Next to the pattern, O Ming and Yu Lily were written, male on the left and female on the right. Pfft! Where did your confidence come from? Not only is it ugly, but it also exudes a strong aura of O Ming. "Hey, how did you know I made it?" O Ming asked. "It's written all over your face." "Who can't tell?" Luo Zhan interrupted. The people next to him also laughed. "Do you like your birthday wishes?" O Ming placed the cake on the table and said in a low voice, "Uncle Wen asked me to bring you a birthday present." "Uncle Wen?" "Yeah. He was attending an art exhibition in France. He specially asked me to bring it to you." Hearing that, Yu Lily nodded. Unexpectedly, O Ming took out a small box from his pocket. Seeing the box, Yu Lily was stunned. This? He had thought that the gift from Uncle Wen would be either an oil painting or a colored painting. Little did he expect that it would be something so small. O Ming opened the box, and there was a small album inside. The booklet was only the size of a palm, but it was very thick. Yu Lily picked it up and flipped through 2 pages. She found that it was a small album of hand-drawn colored lead drawings. However, after a few pages, the image did not seem to have changed. Yu Lily suddenly understood. She rolled up the album and quickly flipped through it. The scene changed quickly. It was a bird holding a twig in its beak. But before she could see more, Ming stopped her with his hand and said, "Go back and see. Lily, happy birthday." Su Qianxi was the first to speak. "Daesu, go and take out the gift that Mom prepared for Auntie." "Yeah." Li Jianxian immediately got out of the chair and ran to the sofa next to him. Chapter 1344. "I don't know. I'm not with them," Yi Qianxian said with a shrug. Yi Qianxian shrugged her shoulders. She stood with Yi Yuyu and said, "That's the way it should be. If everyone knew about it, what kind of surprise would it be? Come, Ursu. Let's sing a happy birthday song for you." Luo Zhan walked over and picked Li Jianyue up. He clapped Li Jianyue's little paws and said, "Happy birthday to you." Her sweet voice carried the childishness of a little girl. It was so sweet that it touched one's heart. With someone taking the lead, the room was soon filled with a chorus of applause. Ming hugged Yu Lily gently and said, "Happy birthday, wife." Yu Lily smiled and kissed him on the lips. "Thank you, hubby. Do you like it?" "It's okay." Ming didn't mind. He rubbed her waist and said, "I'll deal with you tonight." Yu Lily pretended not to hear him. Soon, she made her birthday wish with everyone's approval. The aftertaste of the happy birthday song accompanied Yu Lily all the way to her home and didn't disappear. After parting from the crowd, Ming and Yu Lily didn't follow Li Xiqing back to Yuxiu. Instead, they went to Qiao Ziqing's house. Ming had just drunk some wine, so Yu Lily naturally took the responsibility of driving. Ming looked at his wife beside him and didn't look away the entire way. At first, Yu Lily pretended to be calm and pretended not to notice. After a few minutes, she couldn't pretend anymore. She turned her head and stared at him. Ming's smile widened. He reached out and turned her face to face. "Look straight ahead. Don't look away." Yu Lily drove steadily. "Don't distract me. Why do you keep looking at me? Haven't you seen it before? Well, I've never seen such a beautiful wife." Ming rested his chin on his hand and looked at Yu Lily. "What birthday wish did you just make? It won't come true if I say it out loud." "It's okay. Tell your husband. It will come true." "How can that be?" "Yes. Go away, you're talking nonsense." Although Yu Lily said that, she couldn't hide the smile on her face. Ming, are you really going to F-Town tomorrow?" "I don't think I'm ready." "You don't need to prepare anything. We'll go together when the time comes. I've already notified the other side. When the time comes, she'll come out to pick us up." "Well." Yu Lily felt a little nervous. Thinking that she might find out who her mother was the next day, Yu Lily's heartbeat inexplicably accelerated. Ming gently placed his palm on her hand, which was holding the steering wheel, and said, "It's okay. I'm here. Instead of worrying about the results tomorrow, why don't you tell me what your birthday wish is?" "Go away." Yu Lily shook his hand off and deliberately put on a straight face. "I won't tell you." "Really?" Ming raised his eyebrows. "Then let's not talk about it. In exchange, you have to help me bathe later." "No." "Then tell me." "No." "Then help me bathe." "Why are you such a hooligan?" "I'm just so. I can be even more of a rogue, you know." Yu Lily was speechless. She turned her head away and ignored him, but her heart was filled with sweetness, as if it had been coated with honey. Chapter 1345. Looking at the man she had loved and hated for a long time, she sighed in her heart. "We're here." The car stopped, and Yu Lily gently pushed Ming. Ming leaned against the seat and said, "I'm dizzy. Come and help me." "You didn't drink much, did you? When did your alcohol tolerance become so bad?" Although Yu Lily said that, she still went to the front passenger seat and opened the door. Oh Ming reached out to her, his cheeks a little red. As soon as Yu Lily touched his hand, she was pulled down by Oh Ming. With a cry of surprise, Yu Lily was caught off guard and fell into his arms. Before she could compose herself, Oh Ming had already reached out his hand and pressed her head down. His lips touched her cheek. Yu Lily was shocked and whispered, "What are you doing?" "We're at the door." Oh Ming didn't say anything. He pressed her down and moved his lips slightly. Soon, he captured her lips and kissed her gently. His action was domineering and unyielding. Yu Lily struggled a little, but she couldn't do anything. She simply stopped moving. Oh Ming smiled, and his big hands wrapped around her waist. His tongue gently pried open her teeth and penetrated her mouth. Yu Lily's hands were on his side, and she responded gently. Gradually, her whole body fell on top of him. Oh Ming pulled her up and let her sit on him. He didn't stop moving, but slowly and gradually explored her. Yu Lily knew Oh Ming very well. When she noticed his action, she immediately knew what he wanted to do. Yu Lily pushed him away and warned him, "No. You." "Oh." Before Yu Lily could finish her sentence, she was immediately swallowed up. The early summer night wasn't so quiet. The neighbor's dog kept barking, and the temperature in the car was rising. Yu Lily couldn't help but let out a low moan. Her body was sensitive under his hands, and it trembled slightly. Reason made her push his hands away. Yu Lily looked away and panted slightly. "Let's go back." "Not here." Oh Ming acted as if he hadn't heard her at all. His thighs clamped her legs, and his lips gradually moved down to her neck, collarbone. The sound of panting grew louder and louder in the car. Yu Lily couldn't take it anymore. At the same time, she was afraid of being seen, so she whispered, "Hurry up." Oh Ming opened his eyes and whispered, "I'm almost there." "I'm afraid you won't be able to take it." Yu Lily's face became redder, and she felt a little hot. "Why don't we go back to the room?" Oh Ming's movements became more and more intense, more and more turbulent. Yu Lily didn't know what to do. She put her hands on his back and let him do whatever he wanted. Dong dong. The sudden knock on the car window made Yu Lily tremble. He opened his eyes abruptly and saw the familiar face next to the window. "What are you doing?" Xiao Ziqing's voice wasn't soft, and Yu Lily felt as if her cheeks had been lit on fire. Chapter 1346. Oh Ming's movements became more and more intense. Yu Lily's head was spinning. She placed her hands on his back and let him do whatever he wanted. Knock. Knock. The sudden knock on the car window made Yu Lily's body tremble. She opened her eyes abruptly and saw the familiar face next to the car window. "What are you doing?" Xiao Ziqing's voice wasn't soft. Yu Lily felt as if her face had been lit on fire and was burning hot. She stood up abruptly, but because her movements were too violent, her head hit the roof of the car with a loud thud. That sound scared Oh Ming out of his wits. He immediately hugged her tightly and placed his hands on her head. "Are you okay?" Yu Lily held her head and lowered her body. She curled up into a ball. When she heard Oh Ming's words, she shook her head and pushed him. She complained, "It's all your fault." With that, she pushed open the half-closed car door and ran inside. Yu Lily was stunned. Xiao Ziqing took one look at Yu Lily's baggy clothes and the obvious look of embarrassment on her face. Seeing Yu Lily's figure running inside, she secretly clicked her tongue. It can't be. She seems to have bumped into something incredible. But, to do it so openly in front of the house, isn't that too much? Xiao Ziqing thought to herself. Soon, Oh Ming came out of the car. Under the light from the door, she could see that Oh Ming's cheeks were abnormally red. Oh Ming frowned and walked over. Looking at Xiao Ziqing, he pursed his lips and said unhappily, "Mom, you ruined my plans." Xiao Ziqing was speechless. Oh Ming didn't want to say more. He walked inside. His footsteps were quick, and he disappeared in an instant. Xiao Ziqing's face suddenly burned. Damn it! This young man really knows how to have fun. How could I ruin his plans? Bah! When Yu Lily returned to her room, she immediately went to the bathroom. Looking at her flushed face in the mirror, she was so embarrassed that she wanted to find a hole to hide in. This is too embarrassing. The first time I was in a car with Oh Ming, I was hit by Oh Ming's mother. Ah! How am I going to behave in the future? Would Oh Ming's mother think that she was a slut at that moment? Yu Lily covered her face and splashed water on her face. Then, he checked his own body. His clothes were very messy. After taking off her clothes, Yu Lily turned on the shower head and stood in the shower. After a while, someone knocked on the bathroom door. Yu Lily ignored him, took a shower, put on a bathrobe, and walked out while drying her hair. However, as soon as he opened the door, he was pulled by an arm. Yu Lily was startled. She turned her head and was about to scream, but Oh Ming covered her mouth with his. The smell of liquor mixed with the cigarette was not very pleasant. Yu Lily turned her head away in disgust and said, "Let go." He pressed his lips against her neck and whispered urgently, "Why didn't you wait for me?" She gently pushed him away and said, "Go take a shower. I washed it this afternoon." Recommending the wonderful new book, 99 Days of Hidden Marriage, Chief, please be reserved. On the surface, he was a cold-hearted young master who was loyal to his country, but in secret, he was an all-powerful and mysterious monarch. She calculated step by step and cheated him of all his first times, then left all his assets and ran away. Who knew that the next day, she would be brought to the church with a knife? He announced loudly, "Marry or die." "Marry, marry, marry. I'll marry, all right." Chapter 1347. Yu Lily felt her body getting hotter and retorted, "Who asked you to slow down? Then what do you mean?" Oh Ming pretended not to understand. His smile widened and he whispered, "Then I'll hurry up." After one round, it was indeed fast and slow. Yu Lily couldn't take it anymore. She stretched out her leg and kicked him. "Get lost." "Well, I'm coming." Yu Lily didn't even have time to catch her breath before she was pushed down again. Yu Lily slept so soundly that she didn't even have the energy to dream. After sleeping for a long time, Yu Lily suddenly remembered that she had something to do that day and opened her eyes. She turned her head and saw Oh Ming lying next to her with one arm wrapped around her body. His breathing was even and steady as he slept. Yu Lily moved her body and felt a little sore. Her heart was suddenly filled with resentment. She pressed on top of him as if she was venting her anger. She moved past him and reached for the phone on the bedside table. After getting the phone, Yu Lily didn't have any intention of going down. She just unlocked the phone on top of him. However, before she had time to look at the time on the phone, her waist was wrapped tightly by an arm. "What are you doing?" Oh Ming's voice was a little hoarse from waking up, but it had an indescribable charm. Yu Lily glanced at the phone. It was 8:30 in the morning. Before she could finish her sentence, her body was wrapped around by Oh Ming. Suddenly, she was on top of him and he was on top of her. "I didn't expect you to be more passionate than me." Oh Ming smiled and whispered against her. Yu Lily pushed him and shouted, "Pervert, please go crazy." Oh Ming pushed his knee between her legs and forced her apart. He said, "You sent yourself to me, and you actually called me a pervert. You are so unreasonable." "I didn't." "Then, you were lying on top of me early in the morning. Didn't you want to?" "No. But I wanted to." Oh Ming's voice was low, and his actions were unscrupulous. "Go away." Yu Lily lifted her leg and kicked him away. Her cheeks were red as she scolded, "Wasn't last night enough? Aren't you afraid of dying from arousal? I'm willing to die on top of you." "You." Oh, by the time they finished washing up, it was already past 10 o'clock. It was Sunday, so Huijin and Xiao Ziqing were at home. Seeing that their son and daughter-in-law had woken up so late, the old couple lowered their heads and pretended that they didn't see or know anything. When Auntie Zhang saw them, she shouted, "Young master, young madam, shall I heat up breakfast for you?" "There's no need for that." Ming held Yu Lily's hand and seemed to be in a good mood. "We'll go out to eat. We won't be coming back for a few days, so you don't have to cook for us." Zhang saw, "Okay." Yu Lily felt guilty when she saw Xiao Ziqing. She greeted her parents as a form of greeting before hurriedly running away. Like a thief caught, Yu Lily was so embarrassed. Finally out of the door, Yu Lily finally relaxed. Sitting in the passenger seat, Yu Lily thought of what had happened last night. She was so embarrassed that she reached out and hit Ming. But, that wasn't enough to appease her anger. Yu Lily extended her leg and kicked him. "It's all your fault." Chapter 1348. When she heard Ming's roar, Yu Lily snorted and turned her head away from him. In a place where Yu Lily couldn't see, Ming's lips curled up even more arrogantly. He reached out and tugged at his wife. "You just got up. What are you angry about? Don't touch me." Yu Lily slapped his hand away. "Drive. Don't be angry. I was wrong. I'll listen to you in the future," Ming said fawningly as he tugged at her sleeve. Yu Lily turned her head and looked at him. "Really?" "Yeah. When we're at home, I'll listen to you. But outside, that might not be the case." Furthermore, at home, he had many ways to make her helpless. Ming's wishful thinking went on, and his smile became more and more sincere. Yu Lily looked at him and didn't notice the trap in his words. Her anger finally dissipated a little, and she said, "I'm hungry." "What do you want to eat?" "Anything. I'm hungry and tired." Yu Lily was still a little unhappy. She leaned back in the seat and glared at him. Ming also knew that she was exhausted. He looked at her with a guilty conscience, but he quickly started the car and said, "I'm tired too. I worked from last night until this morning. I'm exhausted." Yu Lily replied, "You asked for it." Ming raised his eyebrows and said, "It's because you seduced me." "I didn't." "Didn't you? You're so good-looking, and I can't control myself when you appear in front of me. Isn't that seduction?" Yu Lily heard that and didn't reply. She turned her head away and looked out the window. "There's no use in praising me. I'm not praising you. I'm praising my wife. How can my wife be so good-looking? She has a good personality, a good temper, a good figure, and everything about her. I'm so lucky to be able to marry her," Ming said with a straight face as he steadily drove the car. But when he spoke, he would look over at her from time to time with a sweet and affectionate expression. Yu Lily ignored him, but her lips unconsciously curved up. Looking out the window at the scenery passing by, she felt that it was exceptionally beautiful. Although Yu Lily didn't speak, it was clear from the reflection in the window that she wasn't that unhappy anymore. Turning his head, Ming kept quiet. Soon, they arrived at the breakfast shop they often went to. After breakfast, he drove in the direction of F-Town. The distance between Kingstown and F-Town was neither close nor far. The night before, Yu Lily couldn't take it anymore and fell asleep on the back of the chair. Yu Lily didn't know how long the car had been driving. When she opened her eyes in a daze, the car was still moving. Yu Lily was covered with a thin blanket. She stretched and sat down. With a yawn, she asked, "Not there yet? How long has it been?" "Almost there." Ming looked at the time and said, "More than an hour. She will be here in about 10 minutes. She will come out to pick us up." "Yeah," Yu Lily answered and took a bottle of mineral water to drink. "Do you want some water?" "Okay, feed me." Ming opened his mouth and waited for her water. Yu Lily rolled her eyes at him, but she still stuffed the bottle she had drunk from into his mouth. Her actions were meticulous. Oh Ming quickly drank half the bottle and said, "Look ahead." In front of them, an elderly woman was waving at them. Beside her was a young man. Is that them? Chapter 1349. However, Yu Lily didn't move. She just looked at him. Oh Ming knew how she was feeling. He gently touched her cheek and whispered, "Don't be afraid. Let's go." Oh Ming quickly got out of the car and opened the door for her. She put her hand on Oh Ming's and walked out. When Yu Lily got out of the car, she got a good look at the woman. The woman looked to be in her 40s or 50s. Her skin was tanned, and there were a few wrinkles on her face. Her hair was black and curly. She was dressed in the style of an elderly person's clothing. She looked simple and honest. When the woman saw Yu Lily, her eyes widened, and her gaze fell on Yu Lily. She walked over to Yu Lily. The woman was a little excited. She looked at her and asked, "Is that you? Miss, is that you?" The latter question was directed at Oh Ming. It was obvious that she knew Oh Ming. Oh Ming nodded his head and said, "Let's find a place to sit down and talk." Okay. Come, let's talk at my house." The woman's eyes were a little red. Guilt was written all over her face. Yu Lily looked at the unfamiliar woman. She had expected to feel anything, but at that moment, it was all gone. This woman was the birth mother, who had carried her in her womb for 10 months. But, Yu Lily's heart was only filled with unfamiliarity with this birth mother. Following them to the woman's house, Yu Lily learned from Oh Ming that the young man was her son. He was a year or two older than Yu Lily. He had already started a family with a wife and 2 lovely daughters. When talking about her family, the woman's expression softened. When she saw Yu Lily, the expression on her face changed again to one of guilt. "I didn't expect you to grow up so much in the blink of an eye," the woman said. "It's been hard on you all these years." "I'm sorry, child. I had no choice back then. I had a family to support. It wasn't easy for my man to support a family. As the woman spoke, her eyes became even redder. "Consider it retribution. My youngest child didn't survive." Yu Lily looked at her. Her heart didn't waver. The atmosphere suddenly became silent. Oh Ming held Yu Lily's hand and looked at the woman. He said, "You've seen her. You said that you have a photo of her birth mother. Can we take a look?" Perhaps it was because Oh Ming was being too straightforward, but the woman was stunned for a moment. She shook her head in embarrassment and said, "At that time, how could there be any photos? So many years have passed. Even if there were photos, they would have been long gone." But that woman was very beautiful, and the clothes she wore were also very beautiful. At that time, there was famine and cold everywhere, but the clothes she wore were very beautiful. Every time she came to our house, the villagers liked to come out and take a look. "Do you still remember what she looked like?" Oh Ming asked. "If I had a photo, would you be able to recognize her?" Yu Lily was stunned. She looked at Oh Ming and asked in surprise, "You have a photo?" Oh Ming squeezed her hand and looked at the woman without saying a word. "Yes." The woman was very sure and said, "I will never forget her appearance for the rest of my life. She looks like someone from the city. She wears a coat and has long hair. However, she doesn't seem to be in good health. She always smells like medicine, and her face is a little pale. Do you have a photo?" Chapter 1350. Secretly taken? What kind of photo was it? Did Oh Ming need to take it secretly? Yu Lily's eyes subconsciously looked at Oh Ming's phone screen. The person in the photo was most likely her mother. The mother who had entrusted her to another woman. The mother who was willing to pay a huge sum for a surrogate, but when she was born, she was gone. Oh Ming's finger swiped on the screen a few times. Then, he found the photo. It was an old-fashioned color photo that looked a little old. Because it was taken secretly, it looked a little blurry, but the general outline was still visible. Yu Lily was stunned when she saw the photo. She looked at Oh Ming in disbelief. You suspect it's her? How is that possible? That was the old photo hidden in the depths of Wen Fenglin's wallet. It was Xian, Oh Ming squeezed her hand and gestured for her to calm down. He placed the phone screen in front of the woman and asked, "Is it her?" When the woman saw the photo, she seemed a little surprised. She quickly said, "It looks like it, so, is it her or not?" "Be sure." "Yes." The woman was certain. "It should be her." "Should be?" Oh Ming frowned. He didn't think the woman was reliable. "It's her, it's her. Mom, I remember this auntie too. When we were young, she often brought us candy. All of us brothers and sisters liked her very much." "It must be Auntie Chi," the young man beside her said confidently. With her son's encouragement, the woman nodded her head in affirmation and said, "Yes, it's her. I remember it too. It's her. She's your mother." Yu Lily's heart raced. She looked at them and found it funny. "You're not sure at all. You're talking nonsense. How could that be?" "Doing so won't do me any good," the woman said. "Child, she's your mother. She's the one who came to me for a surrogate." "Then, tell me, what's her name?" Yu Lily's tone wasn't very pleasant. It was obvious that she didn't believe her. "Tell me her name, and I'll believe you." The woman's expression darkened, but she still thought about it carefully and said, "She never told me her name. She didn't tell me at all. It was only written in the contract. I can't read, so I couldn't understand her name at all." "What about the contract?" Yu Lily asked. "It was broken by the child a long time ago and thrown away." Hearing that, Yu Lily laughed. When the woman saw Yu Lily's expression, she panicked and said, "Although I don't know her name, I do know that her surname is Chi as in Zilai." Surname Chi. Yu Lily pursed her lips, and her face was not very good. There really weren't many people with the surname Chi. However, it was also extremely difficult to find them. "Didn't you say that you couldn't read? How did you know that I was late?" Yu Lily asked again. Being suspected like this, the woman was even more anxious. She pulled a long face and said, "It was she who told me." She herself introduced herself, saying, "My surname is Chi as in Zilai arrives late." Yu Lily looked at Oh Ming and asked, "Do you know her surname?" Oh Ming hadn't said a word since the beginning. A pair of deep peach blossom eyes shone with a different kind of light. Oh Ming tilted his head and looked Yu Lily in the eye before slowly saying, "Her name is Chi Xian." Chapter 1351. Her name was Chi Xian. Yu Lily didn't know how she walked out of the small house. When she got into the car, her mind was still in a daze. The woman she had always heard about, Uncle Wen's first love, the daughter of a wealthy businessman with poor health, the beautiful woman who had passed away young, was her mother? The mother who had spent a fortune to hire a surrogate to give birth to her? If it was Xian, Yu Lily would know the reason immediately. Why did she hire a surrogate? Why didn't she come to fetch her? Why did she let her be an orphan for so many years? Because Xian had died a long time ago. 24 or 25 years ago, she had already passed away from this world. For some reason, Yu Lily felt sad. This woman, who was supposed to be a stranger to Yu Lily, shouldn't have been able to affect her in the slightest. When the character was replaced by Chi Xian, Yu Lily felt an inexplicable sense of sorrow. "Let's go back." Oh Ming reached out and hugged her. "Although your mother is gone, your father is, isn't he?" Father, Yu Lily felt that it was unfair. At the same time, she felt sad. Her mother was gone, but her father was still around. But her father was Zhen Xianlang. How could she be that person's daughter? That kind of person's daughter. Yu Lily hugged Oh Ming tightly and said, "Oh Ming, please. Pretend this never happened. We've never been to F-Town, and we've never found a surrogate. We don't even know who my mother is." Oh Ming hugged her tightly. After a long time, he asked, "You don't like Zhen Xianlang?" Yu Lily pouted. She felt wronged. She felt wronged for Xian. She felt wronged for Wen Fenglin. She felt wronged for herself. He stole the woman that Uncle Wen liked, but not long after her death, he married another woman and gave birth to a son. He doesn't love Xian at all. To him, I don't mean anything at all. Since that's the case, why should I disturb their lives? Oh Ming was silent for a moment. He planted a gentle kiss on her forehead and said, "Let's discuss this when we get back. I'm hungry." Yu Lily pouted and pushed him away. "Get out of the car. I'll drive. You sleep for a while. Can you?" Oh Ming was a little surprised. "I'm afraid that if you're in a bad mood, you'll drive me into a ditch. Wouldn't that be killing two people?" Yu Lily burst out laughing. She pinched his muscular arm and said, "Get lost. Get out of the car. All right. Be careful. Your life is more important, dear." Oh Ming quickly got out of the car. Yu Lily couldn't be bothered to get out of the car. She climbed over and said, "Sleep in the back. It's more spacious there." Yu Lily said as she fastened her seatbelt. Yu Lily glanced at him and quickly started the car. She turned on the GPS and drove on the way back. It was. Lily was. Xian, you was. Lily didn't, we. Oh, Lily, Yu Lily rolled her eyes at him. "Didn't you say you were afraid that I would drive into the ditch? Why are you still sleeping so soundly?" Oh Ming unbuckled his seatbelt, pulled her over, and kissed her. He said seriously, "My wife's driving skills are beyond doubt. I believe in you." Oh. Yu Lily didn't want to talk to him. She walked into the restaurant. Coincidentally, as soon as he entered the restaurant, he saw a familiar figure. Chapter 1352. To be able to meet Wen Fenglin here was beyond their expectations. Yu Lily was stunned for a moment. Then, she remembered what had just happened. She didn't know why, but she felt that Wen Fenglin wasn't worth it. The feeling of being wronged overflowed her again. "Uncle Wen." Yu Lily called out. There was a tinge of awkwardness in her voice. Wen Fenglin walked over to them and said, "What a coincidence. You're here for dinner too? We don't have many people. Do you want to join us?" "Huh?" Yu Lily laughed when she heard that. "It's okay, Uncle Wen. You guys go ahead. They're all your friends. It's not appropriate for the two of us to eat together." Wen Fenglin had expected Yu Lily to reject him. He smiled and nodded his head. The deep dimples on his cheeks were mesmerizing. He said, "All right then. Enjoy your meal." "Wait a moment, Uncle Wen." Oh Ming stopped Wen Fenglin and turned to look at Yu Lily. Then, he turned his head back and asked, "Do you have anything else for me after dinner?" Wen Fenglin stopped in his tracks. He looked at Oh Ming and asked, "Is there anything else?" Yu Lily seemed to have guessed something. She nudged Oh Ming and looked at him with a frown. Oh Ming ignored Yu Lily's action and said, "There's a small matter. I think it's better that you know about it." Wen Fenglin looked at Oh Ming and then at Yu Lily. He nodded his head and said, "All right. If you guys finish eating, wait for me. There's a cafe nearby. Let's go there later." "Sure." Oh Ming agreed and quickly parted ways with Wen Fenglin. Yu Lily watched Wen Fenglin's silhouette disappear into the distance. She nudged Oh Ming and said, "You want to tell Uncle Wen? Are you crazy?" Uncle Wen will definitely feel terrible. I think there's a need to tell him. Oh Ming pressed her hand down. Let's go in first. They asked for a private room. Yu Lily and Oh Ming ordered their food before continuing their conversation. After the discussion, Oh Ming managed to convince Yu Lily. After dinner, the couple sat in the cafe for a while. Then, they saw Wen Fenglin walking toward them. Yu Lily saw Wen Fenglin's amiable smile. The two dimples on his cheeks were especially eye-catching. The moment she saw him, Yu Lily suddenly regretted her decision. He subconsciously squeezed Oh Ming's hand and asked worriedly, "Do we really have to tell Uncle Wen?" More than 20 years ago, Xian had married Zhen Xianlang, and Wen Fenglin had received nothing. More than 20 years later, to discover that the Xian, from 20 years ago had paid the price of her life to give birth to a daughter for Zhen Xianlang was simply too cruel. It would be better to let this secret be scattered in the wind. Oh Ming could read her mind. He gently patted her hand and gently said, "Don't be afraid. Men are not as weak as you think." Was that so? Yu Lily had some doubts, but at the same time, she was a little confused. Today was a working day, so there weren't many people in the cafe. The corner they were in was very quiet. Apart from them, there were no other customers around. Wen Fenglin walked over and sat down. "Sorry to keep you waiting. You haven't ordered anything to drink. What would you like to drink?" Chapter 1353. To Wen Fenglin, the name Qi Xian sounded familiar yet distant. Wen Fenglin was taken aback. He put his bag down and asked, "What's the matter? Why did you suddenly mention her?" "Before I tell you about this, I'd like to ask you a few questions." Oh Ming held Yu Lily's hand and placed his other hand on the table. He looked at Wen Fenglin calmly. "Okay. Ask away." Wen Fenglin didn't mind. At that moment, the waitress served the drinks that they had ordered. Wen Fenglin looked at the waitress and thanked her before looking back at Oh Ming. Beneath his round, black-rimmed glasses, his small eyes were filled with doubt. He picked up his glass and took a sip. His slightly plump face was filled with a clean and kind smile. He exuded a clean and comfortable aura and a strong scholarly aura. "Uncle Wen, did you know that Qi Xian had a child with Zhen Xianlang?" Wen Fenglin paused. The smile on his face faded a little. He looked at Oh Ming and slowly swallowed the water in his mouth. "Zhen Xianlang had a child with Xian, Wen Fenglin repeated the question and shook his head with a chuckle. How could that be possible? Wen Fenglin's reaction made Yu Lily feel even more guilty. Xian's body was unable to conceive. Wen Fenglin put his glass down. The smile on his face had completely disappeared. She couldn't bear a child. She couldn't even guarantee her own health. She wouldn't do something so irresponsible. So, they couldn't have had a child. As he spoke, his voice became more and more determined. Yes. They all knew that Qi Xian's body wasn't in good health. She couldn't bear a child, but she could have hired a surrogate. The child born from the surrogate would still be her child. Although the child wouldn't have crawled out of her belly, Qi Xian's blood still flowed through Yu Lily's body. That couldn't be changed. After Wen Fenglin said that, he seemed to have thought of something. He picked up his glass again and took a sip. He didn't put it down for a long time. What was he trying to hide by doing that? The more Yu Lily thought about it, the more upset she felt. She tugged at Oh Ming, but Oh Ming was one step ahead of her and said, "What if she hired a surrogate?" Wen Fenglin's heart, which had remained calm a moment ago, suddenly twitched violently. The liquid in his mouth flowed down his throat. Caught off guard, Wen Fenglin coughed violently. Yu Lily's heart skipped a beat. She quickly took the cup from his hand and placed it on the table. She reached out to pat his back and said, "Uncle Wen." Wen Fenglin waved Yu Lily's hand away and replied, "It's nothing." Did you say that Xian hired a surrogate? Wen Fenglin seemed to have thought of something as he looked at Yu Lily. There was something special about Yu Lily. She had a special quality that was very similar to Xian. It was her personality and her aura. In terms of facial features, she was not that similar to Xian. At first glance, no one would associate her with Qi Xian. But after interacting with her for a while, he realized that she was very similar to Xian. Could it be, Wen Fenglin was a smart man? With one look, Yu Lily knew that he had guessed correctly. Chapter 1354. That was a good thing. That was the first thought that flashed across Wen Fenglin's mind. However, when he heard that it was a good thing, Wen Fenglin couldn't bring himself to be happy. Yu Lily was possibly Xian, and Zhen Xianlang's daughter? Was that a good thing? It wasn't, at least, it wasn't to him. Wen Fenglin's chest tightened. Waves of heart-wrenching pain shot through him. It felt like he was being stabbed by a knife. Zhen Xianlang had not only obtained the woman he loved, but he had also allowed that woman to conceive his child. Yet, this man had allowed that child to wander outside while he formed a family of his own. He had a son and a daughter, and everything was blissful. Why? It wasn't just his chest that hurt. His head was spinning. Wen Fenglin couldn't accept such a huge amount of information. He rested his head on the table with one hand. After a few seconds, Wen Fenglin chuckled and asked, "Are you kidding me? How did you know?" Yu Lily knew that the news was cruel to Wen Fenglin. She couldn't bear to hear it. She thought for a moment and said, Ming has been helping me look for my biological parents for a long time now, and we've finally made some progress. Today, we're going to F-Town. Yu Lily briefly explained the whole story. She didn't speak quickly. In fact, her tone was filled with hesitation. But, she still told the whole story. As she spoke, she paid close attention to Wen Fenglin's expression. Wen Fenglin closed his eyes and leaned against the table. There was no obvious expression on his face. There was a complicated feeling in his heart. Yu Lily knew that it wasn't an easy thing to accept. After she was done, she didn't say anything else. You wanted to see Zhen Xianlang, and you wanted me to clear the way for you, right? Wen Fenglin removed his glasses and massaged his temples. The corners of his lips turned up. It was obvious that he was in a bad mood. The dimples on his cheeks weren't deep. No. Yu Lily waved her hand. Ming and I felt that we should tell you about this. Wen Fenglin chuckled. Actually, you don't have to tell me. Wen Fenglin put his glasses back on and looked up. He was back to his usual self. So many years have passed. There's nothing I can't let go of. Xian has been gone for so many years. No matter what, she's already my wife in my heart. As he spoke, he stood up. No matter what, thank you for telling me this news. Congratulations, Lily. You've finally found your biological parents. As he spoke, his smile deepened. However, this smile hid an indescribable bitterness. Yu Lily only understood a little, and her heart ached a little. Wen Fenglin was a good man, but the heavens didn't care for him at all. When he saw Yu Lily's gaze, Wen Fenglin replied casually, although Xian, and I aren't married, and no one has acknowledged our relationship, we've been in love for a while. Speaking of which, I even pledged to marry your mother in private. But as he spoke, his smile faded even further. He looked at her and said, if you don't mind, you can call me Daddy. Yu Lily looked up at the gentleman and opened her mouth. Her voice wasn't loud as she said, Daddy. Wen Fenglin's eyes reddened. He looked at the daughter in front of him and smiled from the bottom of his heart. Chapter 1355. Wen Fenglin walked out of the cafe, but the bitterness in his eyes didn't fade. Wen Fenglin's eyes reddened uncontrollably. His footsteps quickened. When Yu Lili and O Ming reached home, she couldn't relax. The image of Wen Fenglin's back appeared in her mind, and she felt an indescribable pain. "Let's go to Fujian tomorrow," O Ming said. Yu Lili was stunned. "Why are we going to Fujian?" "To look for your father." O Ming held her hand and led her inside. "Come on, let's sleep together." Yu Lili followed him into the room and said reluctantly, "No. Let's just leave it like this. I don't need a father. That Chen guy has a happy family now. Why should I interfere? If she did that, the current balance would be ruined." Yu Lili didn't want to do that. She didn't want to call such a man her father. O Ming pulled her over and said, "Yeah. Let's not think about this anymore. Let's sleep for a while. I'll make a trip to the office. I'll be back for dinner with you." Yu Lili nodded her head. "All right. Be careful. Good afternoon." O Ming walked out of the house, picked up his phone, and called Wen Fenglin. Su Qianxi sat on the toilet seat in the bathroom, looking at the pregnancy test in her hand in a daze. All three of them, without exception, had 2 lines. Was she pregnant? Knock, knock. There was a knock on the bathroom door. Li Xicheng's voice came through the door. "Wifey, are you done?" Su Qianxi gripped the pregnancy test in her hand and scratched her hair. She stood up and opened the door. Li Xicheng looked at the grave expression on Su Qianxi's face and had a bad feeling about it. "How is it?" Li Xicheng asked as he gently touched her face. Su Qianxi pouted and hugged him tightly without saying a word. Li Xicheng's heart, which had been in his throat, suddenly relaxed. Su Qianxi could vaguely sense his disappointment. Li Xicheng hugged her with one arm and stroked her hair with his warm palm. He said in a low voice, "It's okay. The child will come when it's meant to." When Su Qianxi heard this, she chuckled and hugged him tightly. "You're the one who wants children. Why are you comforting me? I should be the one comforting you." Li Xicheng was even more disappointed. "Then why don't you comfort me?" She let him go and smiled brightly. "Don't be disappointed, Mr. Li. I'm pregnant." He paused, looked up at the woman in front of him, and asked incredulously, "What did you say?" "I said, I'm pregnant, I'm going to be a mother again, you're going to be a father again." Su Qianxi put her hands in his ear and shouted. Her smile widened, and her tone was light. Li Xicheng's heart raced. He suddenly laughed and looked at Su Qianxi. "Really?" "Yes." She showed him the pregnancy test. "Look." Li Xicheng didn't even look at the pregnancy test kit. He laughed and kissed Su Qianxi's face hard. "Really, really pregnant?" Su Qianxi looked at him, feeling warm. Compared to 5 years ago, Li Xicheng was even more agitated and straightforward. Li Xicheng smiled, but his eyes turned red. He looked at his wife and whispered, "Thank you, Mrs. Li." Chapter 1356. Although Li Xicheng now had 3 children calling him dad, he didn't have much of a sense of being a father. This role seemed to be somewhat distant from him. But if he could have another child, he could start from scratch, maybe it would feel different. Su Qianxi looked at him, stood on her tiptoes, and kissed his lips. "I love you, Mr. Li." Li Xicheng hugged her and pressed his forehead against hers, smiling without saying a word. "I love you too, Mrs. Li." The next few days passed by uneventfully. Yu Lili drew at home and took care of the housework and 3 meals a day. She didn't seem to be any different from other housewives. At Eurasian Comics, Yu Lili was temporarily on paid leave in the name of marriage. But almost everyone in the company already knew that Yu Lili was actually married to the big boss of Eurasian Comics, so it didn't matter whether she went to work or not. Yu Lili had the habit of running in the morning. Although she lived in the same area as Su Qianxi, it was difficult to meet Su Qianxi in the morning. Instead, she met Li Xicheng. Li Xicheng brought a few children out for a run, and the three children chased each other. Li Jianyue's body was round, and she almost became a little fat. She was panting when she ran, and her little face was red. When she saw Yu Lily, Li Jianyue was surprised and shouted, "Auntie Lily." The little girl ran toward Yu Lily and shouted, "Auntie Lily, here, here." Yu Lily stopped and looked at Li Jianyue. "Good morning." Li Xicheng was with the two boys. When he saw Li Jianyue running toward Yu Lily, he didn't care anymore. He nodded at Yu Lily as a greeting, and then slowly ran with the children. Yu Lily looked at the father and son running, and the happy scene looked very harmonious. How happy! Li Jianyue succeeded in slacking off and happily said to Yu Lily, "Good morning, Auntie." The little fellow had already put on a short-sleeved shirt. His fleshy arms were segmented and looked very cute. Yu Lily touched her hand and asked, "Where's Mommy?" "Mommy is sleeping at home. Daddy said that Mommy has a baby in her stomach, and she needs to sleep more to be good for the baby," Li Jianyue said with a smile. Yu Lily heard that and was slightly surprised. "Your mother is pregnant again?" "Yes, yes." Li Jianyue was a little excited and secretly said, "Mommy has a baby now, so she won't have time to teach us how to read and write. Daddy said he's going to send me to school. Hee, I'm going to be in grade 1. In the little guy's world, it was always so simple to be happy or not." Yu Lily chuckled and stood up. "Come, I'll take you to your father." Auntie, can we walk there? You have to run to grow up healthily. Only then can you take care of your younger brothers and sisters. You'll be a big sister soon, Yu Lily said with a smile, but her heart was a little complicated. She was pregnant again, how nice. Yu Lily had a smile on her lips, but there was a sense of loneliness in her eyes. The little boy didn't notice the change in Yu Lily's mood. When he heard her words, he nodded and said, "Yes, I have to take care of my brother and sister. Let's go." Without waiting for Yu Lily to catch up, Li Jianyue ran off first. Chapter 1357. Ming had been back to work for the past 2 days. He had been busy until late every day. When Yu Lily ran back, Ming was still asleep. Yu Lily took her time preparing breakfast. When she was done, she bit into a piece of bread and walked into the room. When she opened the door, she heard the sound of washing up coming from the bathroom. The bathroom door wasn't closed. Yu Lily walked in and leaned against the door. As she bit into the bread, she said, "Qianqian seems to be pregnant again." Ming paused in the middle of washing his face and turned to look at her. "Pregnant again?" He quickly finished washing his face and said, "Second brother is really efficient. How long has it been since he came back? He's just gotten familiar with the children, and now he's having a baby." Tsk. Yu Lily stared at him but quickly stuffed the bread into her mouth and said, "I've made breakfast. Come out and eat." Ming put the towel away and turned to walk out. Yu Lily was already downstairs. After changing his clothes, Ming walked down at a moderate pace. Yu Lily was looking at her phone at the table. When she heard the footsteps behind her, she said, "Uncle Wen sent me a WeChat message." Ming walked over to the table and sat down. He picked up the glass of milk and took a sip. "What did he say?" "He said that the person from the Zhen family is coming to see me." Yu Lily drank the milk without looking up. "I don't want to go. It's boring." "Did Uncle Wen tell Zhen Xianlang?" Ming looked at Yu Lily. "Why don't you go? After all, he's your father." "I don't want a father like that. He has his own family. I don't need to ruin their lives." Ming, I really don't want to." She used to look forward to her parents. When she found out that her parents were Qi Xian and Zhen Xianlang, she didn't want them anymore. Anyway, she was already an adult. What did she need her parents for? What are you going to tell Uncle Wen? He came all the way from Fujian. If you don't meet him, what do you expect Uncle Wen to do? Oh Ming ate his bread and looked at her with a deep gaze. I feel that no matter what, we should meet him first. Furthermore, I feel that things aren't that simple. Yu Lily was stunned and looked at him in confusion. What does he mean by things aren't that simple? Oh Ming didn't explain. In the end, Yu Lily agreed to meet Zhen Xianlang. When Zhen Xianlang arrived in Kingstown, Yu Lily was painting at home while he went to the office. Yu Lily was so engrossed in her painting that she didn't notice the passage of time. When the phone rang, it was already noon. It was a call from Oh Ming. Honey, Uncle Wen and Uncle Zhen have arrived in Kingstown. Where are you? I'll pick you up. He's at home. You can go directly to the airport to pick him up. I'll go by myself. I'll let you know when I find a place to eat. All right. After reaching an agreement, Yu Lily quickly booked a private room in a restaurant and began to dress herself up. She changed her clothes and put on some light makeup before driving to the restaurant. When they arrived, they found that they had already arrived. When Yu Lily walked in, the first person she saw was her husband, followed by Uncle Wen, and finally Zhen Xianlang. Compared to a while ago, Zhen Xianlang appeared rounder and taller. His cheekbones were slightly higher, and his eyes beneath his glasses were full of vigor. Chapter 1358. Zhen Xianlang was the man who had married Qi Xian. Not long after Qi Xian's death, he had married another woman. He was also Yu Lily's father. Yu Lily knew that, but she still harbored some resentment toward this man. He didn't love Qi Xian, but he had married her and left Wen Fenglin alone for the rest of his life. Yu Lily felt a little resentful. Yu Lily sat down and looked at him with a smile. Yeah, we meet again. The waiter poured some tea for Yu Lily and quickly left the scene. No one spoke. The atmosphere was dead silent. Yu Lily took a sip of tea and lowered her head, deep in thought. Lily, why don't you order something? We're all grown men, and we don't know what to eat. Wen Fenglin placed the menu on the wheel and turned it over to Yu Lily. Yu Lily took the menu and placed it between her and Oh Ming. They looked at it together. Is there anything you don't eat? Yu Lily looked up at Wen Fenglin and then at Zhen Xianlang. Do you eat seafood? How about sashimi? Zhen Xianlang looked at her and replied, I'm allergic to seafood. I can't eat too much. Yu Lily looked regretful and said, what a pity. Seafood is delicious. Uncle Wen, do you want some? Yeah, I'm fine with anything. I'm not a picky eater. Wen Fenglin sipped his tea and smiled. The two dimples on his lips made him look intoxicating. That's fine. You can order seafood. Lao Wen loves seafood. Every time I go out with him, he eats a lot. I can still eat a little. Zhen Xianlang laughed. But my son is allergic to seafood too. Are you okay with that? Sure. Yu Lily looked at the seafood on the menu. Sashimi was fine with anything. Hubby, help me call the waiter. The waiter came over quickly. Yu Lily placed her order and asked for a bottle of corn juice. Throughout the meal, Zhen Xianlang and Wen Fenglin interacted from time to time. Oh Ming also spoke to them, but Yu Lily didn't know what to say. It was inevitable for men to smoke and drink at a meal. Zhen Xianlang took out a pack of cigarettes and handed one to Wen Fenglin and one to Oh Ming. Wen Fenglin took it and lit it, but he didn't smoke much. Oh Ming politely declined. Thank you, Uncle Zhen, but we're preparing for pregnancy. I won't smoke. Zhen Xianlang nodded his head. It was hard to read his expression. He looked at Oh Ming and asked, Xianlang. Yeah, we've already gotten our marriage certificate. The wedding will be held next month, and we're still preparing for it. Oh Ming had a smile on his face. As he spoke, he looked at Yu Lily with a gentle gaze. That's really fast. I actually didn't hear anything about it. Old one, did you already know about it? Zhen Xianlang said with some rebuke. Wen Fenglin looked a little vexed. He smacked his head and said, "Look at me. I forgot to tell you. But it's not too late to know now. At the wedding next month, you can still act as a father and hand Lily's hand over to O Ming's. Of Li. One of one, Fawfully, one of one of. Chapter 1359. It was more than that. When Wen Fenglin told him about it, Zhen Xianlang was rendered speechless. Qi Xian had a child? A surrogate child. When Zhen Xianlang said that, he laughed and said, "Back when we were together, she didn't give the game away at all. I was too irresponsible as a husband." When Yu Lily heard that and saw the guilt in his eyes, she lowered her head. Actually, it wasn't Zhen Xianlang's fault. Everyone knew that Xian's health wasn't good. Who would have thought that the gentle and weak sister Lin would hire a surrogate to give birth to a child? At that time, the technology for surrogacy wasn't very developed. She probably just wanted to give it a try and conceive the child. The more Yu Lily thought about it, the more bitter she felt. Qi Xian's health wasn't good. If she couldn't have a child, what about me? Did I have to hire a surrogate as well? Could it be that mother and daughter were destined to walk the same path? Yu Lily's heart ached at the thought. She turned her head and grabbed O Ming's hand. O Ming turned his head and looked at her with confusion. His peach blossom eyes softened as he asked, "What's the matter?" Yu Lily shook her head gently and didn't say another word. The meal was quickly over. Yu Lily had been worried that if he brought her home, his family would change, and she would feel awkward. After the meal, Yu Lily realized that she had been overthinking things. She had thought that there would be progress after the meal, but there didn't seem to be. It was obvious that Zhen Xianlang didn't have much hope for his daughter. He didn't have any intention of asking Yu Lily to call him daddy, and he didn't have any intention of bringing her home. It was as if he was there to meet someone he had no relationship with. Yu Lily felt a little relieved, but at the same time, a little disappointed. Her father hadn't welcomed her as she had imagined. After O Ming and Yu Lily left, Wen Fenglin brought Zhen Xianlang, who hadn't been to Kingstown in a long time, to meet up with his old friends. Wen Fenglin wasn't in a good mood. Just as Wen Fenglin was about to head over to an old friend's house, Zhen Xianlang said, "Lao Wen, let's talk." Wen Fenglin tilted his head to look at him. "What do you want to talk about?" "Regarding that child, I think we need to talk about it." Zhen Xianlang took a long drag on his cigarette and said meaningfully, "Why are you so sure that girl is my child?" Wen Fenglin was a little angry when he heard that. His brows furrowed. His usual gentleness was nowhere to be seen. "What do you mean?" "I said, I need to do a DNA test with that child." When Wen Fenglin heard that, he was even more annoyed. He turned around to face him. "Are you suspecting that Lily isn't your child at all?" No wonder he didn't have the slightest bit of enthusiasm at the dining table. So this was what he was thinking in his heart. Zhen Xianlang looked at Wen Fenglin's darkened expression and said, "You can't blame me for being suspicious. After all." "Oh," before he could finish his sentence, Wen Fenglin punched him. A firm and hard fist smashed into Zhen Xianlang's face. Caught off guard, Zhen Xianlang almost fell to the ground. Chapter 1360. Wen Fenglin felt all the pent-up anger in his heart for so many years explode in an instant. The volcano in the depths of his heart erupted uncontrollably. Wen Fenglin didn't feel any relief from the punch. Instead, he became even more enraged. He took a step forward and growled, "Are you suspecting that Xian was unfaithful to you?" Your AB asterisk starred. Zhen Xianlang covered his pained face and took a deep breath. When he heard that, he laughed coldly and said, "Unfaithful? Wen Fenglin, do you dare say that nothing happened during the 2 weeks that you stayed with Xian Er?" Wen Fenglin was stunned when he heard that. He looked at Zhen Xianlang. Zhen Xianlang straightened up and looked at Wen Fenglin. His face was filled with anger. "What? You have nothing to say now? What do you mean by that?" Wen Fenglin's heart raced. "You're suspecting." "No, that's impossible. She's already married to you, and she's gone now. How can you still suspect her? Are you even human?" Zhen Xianlang looked at Wen Fenglin coldly. "You're guilty. You and her weren't clean back then, were you?" The blunt words fell into Wen Fenglin's ears like an arrow that had been shot from the dark. Wen Fenglin gritted his teeth in anger. He grabbed Zhen Xianlang by the collar and shouted, "Watch your words. What do you mean by not clean? The two of us were a couple back then. You stole my love away from me. How dare you say such things now? Don't you have any shame? If that's the case, there was really something going on between the two of you." Wen Fenglin was even more enraged. He raised his fist and prepared to land a punch on Zhen Xianlang's face. However, Zhen Xianlang clenched his fist tightly. "After we got married, she kept using her health as an excuse to reject me. But, when she was asleep, she called out your name." Zhen Xianlang pushed him away. "We've been friends for many years. I don't want to fall out with you. That girl is probably Xian Er's daughter, but whose flesh and blood is she? I don't think she's mine." "Zhen Xianlang. You're insulting her. Xian Er isn't a fickle girl." "I know." Zhen Xianlang's voice was a little bitter. "Her heart has always been with you, so even if she married me, she wouldn't consummate the marriage with me." When these words landed on Wen Fenglin, it was like a torrent falling into the green waters of a lake. In an instant, the water splashed and exploded. "You didn't consummate your marriage?" Wen Fenglin's heart raced. He looked at Zhen Xianlang in disbelief. "How is that possible? Could it be that Yu Lily is actually his daughter?" With that thought in mind, Wen Fenglin felt as if his heart was about to leap out of his throat. His daughter, her daughter, their daughter? Zhen Xianlang looked at him and said, "We all know Xian Er. You know very well whether it's possible or not. However, because Xian is a surrogate, I'm not sure whose child it is. Of course he would like Xian Er's child." However, Zhen Xianlang felt that this child wasn't his flesh and blood. Even though Qi Xian was his wife, even though Qi Xian had died in his bed, her feelings for him had always been that of an elder brother. There had never been any romantic feelings between a man and a woman. Xian Er's health wasn't good, but she was able to secretly hire a surrogate and run all over the place. If it were his child, Xian Er wouldn't have needed to do that. Zhen Xianlang understood that, but he refused to give up. What if? Xian Er felt that she couldn't cut off the Zhen family line, so she secretly took his sperm to get pregnant. Chapter 1361. Zhen Xianlang's words left Wen Fenglin deep in thought. Back then, when they were young, a man and a woman living together, it was inevitable that they would have that kind of impulse. Those 2 weeks were Wen Fenglin's happiest times. It was just that in that half a month, they had only done it once. Was it possible to get pregnant just once? If she really got pregnant that time, then after Xian found out that she was pregnant, she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to keep the child, so she found a surrogate, right? Wen Fenglin thought it was highly possible, and his excitement grew. Was that so? When Zhen Xianlang saw the expression on Wen Fenglin's face, he felt even more upset. Wen Fenglin took out his phone and dialed Yu Lily's number. Yu Lily and O Ming had just driven off when they received a call from Wen Fenglin. When she saw the name Uncle Wen, Yu Lily hesitated for a moment before answering the call. "Uncle Wen. Lily, where are you now? Wen Fenglin sounded agitated. I have something to tell you. Oh Ming and I just drove out. Where are you now? Let's go over now. Wen Fenglin was still in the private room and hadn't left. When they reached the entrance of the restaurant, Wen Fenglin and Zhen Xianlang quickly left. After getting into Oh Ming's car, Wen Fenglin said, let's go to the hospital. What's wrong? Yu Lily looked at them strangely. There was a faint blush on Wen Fenglin's face as he said, Lily, it's very possible that you're not old Zhen's daughter. She might not be Zhen Xianlang's daughter. Wen Fenglin's words sounded ridiculous to Yu Lily. If she wasn't Zhen Xianlang's daughter, whose daughter was she? Qi Xian married Zhen Xianlang. Wasn't Qi Xian's child Zhen Xianlang's child? Yu Lily found it hard to believe, but then she immediately thought of another important point. Could she, possibly not be Qi Xian's daughter? After all, Qi Xian was already dead, and the dead could not testify. Who knew if that woman was telling the truth or not? Yu Lily was a little worried, but she still listened to them and got Oh Ming to drive to the hospital. Yu Lily drew her blood and came out quickly. Zhen Xianlang wasn't the only one who had his blood drawn. Wen Fenglin had his blood drawn as well. Yu Lily looked at Wen Fenglin with suspicion. Wen Fenglin seemed to be in a very good mood that day. No, he was in a very good mood that afternoon. Wen Fenglin seemed to be in high spirits. Yu Lily seemed to have guessed something. Yu Lily didn't mention the possibility. When they got home, she asked Oh Ming, based on Uncle Wen's attitude, don't tell me they think that Qi Xian's child is Uncle Wen's child? Fte Fenglin thought of. He thought. She, and thought. Ming he. Fun. Chapter 1362. Oh Ming didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Uncle Wen is stout, not fat. Middle-aged people are already like that. Uncle Wen takes good care of himself. Yu Lily shook her head. In any case, we don't look alike. Besides, I don't look like Qi Xian at all. They always say that we look alike after interacting with each other. They talk about temperament and temperament. Temperament is nurtured. I'm guessing that when Qi Xian was young, she probably grew up in a similar environment as me. That's why she thinks we look alike. The more Yu Lily thought about it, the more likely it seemed. I think that's probably the case. Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental? There are so many orphans in the world, and there are so many who can't find their biological parents. I've been so unlucky since I was young. How could I have been so lucky to find them just at the right time? Oh Ming laughed. He stroked her hair with his large, warm hands and said, what do you mean by just at the right time? I looked for a long time, all right? Is that so? Yu Lily still felt that it was a little unrealistic. Then how do you know that what that person said was true? Qi Xian has been dead for so many years. How could they confirm that the surrogate was Qi Xian just by looking at your photo? I still don't think it's very reliable. Oh Ming felt a little helpless. He pulled her down and said, do I need you to think it's reliable? In any case, the blood test results will be out tomorrow. At that time, if you're not Zhen Xianlang's daughter or Uncle Wen's daughter, then we can be sure that you're not Qi Xian's daughter. Hey! What if it's both? Yu Lily looked up at him and laughed. If it's both, then what will happen? Oh Ming said seriously, then I'll probably be taken away by the people at the Institute of Scientific Research to be dissected? You're the one who'll be dissected. Well. Oh Ming's eyes flashed with a smile. He opened his arms and said, you can dissect it. I won't resist. Get lost. Get lost in broad daylight? I don't mind. Yu Lily said. Go back to your company. Are you done with your work? Your head is full of unhealthy thoughts. Oh Ming turned around and hugged her. The corners of his lips lifted slightly, and he chuckled wickedly. His peach blossom eyes were full of mirth as he said, "What do you mean by unhealthy thoughts? This is the highest happiness in life, doing happy things with the person you love deeply." Yu Lily was stunned by his fallacious reasoning. She turned her head away and ignored him. Ming lowered his head to kiss her on the cheek, but she avoided it. Then he kissed her neck, but Yu Lily shrank back. The smile in Ming's eyes deepened. He stuck out the tip of his tongue and gently slid it across her skin. Yu Lily's body trembled slightly. She immediately pushed him away and said, "No, I'm exhausted. Come back at night." Ming was just teasing her. When he heard what she said, his eyes curved, and he said, "Kiss me." Yu Lily turned her head and quickly kissed him on the lips. But before she could leave, her head was locked by his palm. Her lips were sealed, and he penetrated her. Ming's movements were light and wild. He could feel Yu Lily's body moving with his movements. He felt like he was floating, and the comfort in his heart was rising. After the long kiss, Yu Lily panted slightly and held him in her arms. Ming was about to tease her, but he inadvertently saw that her eyes were slightly red. His heart tightened. Ming sat up with her in his arms. "What's wrong?" Chapter 1363. How could that be? It can't be. Ming looked at her, his dark eyes deep and serious. "Don't think too much. There will always be a time when it's time." It was said that children were a gift from the heavens, and Yu Lily believed that. Hearing what Ming said, Yu Lily subconsciously wanted to laugh, but when she curled her lips, she couldn't smile. "Do you think it's because of the 2 children I had miscarried that she's punishing me? Don't let your imagination run wild. The more you think about it, the more ridiculous it becomes. Why are you so superstitious?" Ming pinched her nose and said unhappily, "Did old Mrs. Shen teach you to say that?" Yu Lily slapped his hand away and rebuked, "How could that be? I just feel that way, who knows? That old lady is very strange. She claims to be a fortune teller. Lately, you've been calling her so frequently. TSK. It's hard to say." Yu Lily stretched out her leg and kicked him. "Why aren't you going to work? Are you abandoning the company?" "It's okay. My father is here." Ming's body fell down again. "I'm someone who took marriage leave." Yu Lily looked up at him and asked, "How much longer do you have before your marriage leave?" "Indefinitely. Anyway, my father is here to take care of it." Yu Lily's lips curved. "How can that be? Your mother will have something to say about it." "I'm doing this for their own good," Ming said. "Look at how old they are. If they stay together, it will affect their relationship." F***ck, what kind of twisted logic is that? Why are you asking this? Do you have any plans? Yu Lily thought about it and said, "Why don't we make a trip to the capital in the next few days?" "Why would we go to the capital?" Ming asked. "I heard that there's a very efficacious temple in the capital where people can pray for children." Yu Lily said hesitantly. As expected, when she saw Ming's expression change, she quickly waved her hands and said, "I'm not superstitious. I just think it's better to believe in something than to believe in it." Ming didn't believe in such nonsense, but there were some things that you had to believe in. Although old Mrs. Shen was full of nonsense, when she told Xiao Ziqing's fortune, most of it was correct. Ming sighed deeply and said, "Well, I'll go see the old lady and get to know her better." When Yu Lily heard that, a smile appeared on her face. She opened her arms and hugged him tightly. "Hubby, I love you. Go to work." Ming was speechless. "You want me to go to work because you love me? That's right. Otherwise, people will say that you're unable to extricate yourself from your beauty. If they say that I'm a femme fatale, that would be terrible. It's okay, I don't care. The company won't collapse even if I don't go there. Ahem, actually, if you're at home, I won't be able to finish my work. I haven't even finished my drawings for this week. I have to hand them in 2 days. I won't make it in time. In the end, Ming was chased away by Yu Lily. The day was peaceful. The next day, Yu Lily woke up early. She glanced at her phone and waited for Uncle Wen's message. But just like that, an entire morning passed. It wasn't until after lunch that Wen Fenglin sent a message. On WeChat, the first message was a picture. When Yu Lily saw it, she blinked and felt a little disappointed. She didn't know why, but she suddenly felt terrible. She felt the urge to cry. Pursing her lips, Yu Lily's fingers tapped on the keyboard and asked, "Whose is it?" It seemed a little redundant to ask such a question. Chapter 1364. Yu Lily's heart was a little empty and disappointed. Even though she had already known the outcome, when the truth was revealed to her, Yu Lily still felt unhappy. Wen Fenglin didn't answer her directly. Instead, he sent another picture. The name on it was eye-catching, Zhen Xianlang. Yu Lily was stunned when she saw it. Zhen Xianlang? The 0000 belonged to Zhen Xianlang? Following that, Wen Fenglin sent another photo over. Wen Fenglin's mind went blank. Yu Lily's hands trembled. Covering her mouth, Yu Lily's eyes were moist. Wen Fenglin. Her blood relationship with Wen Fenglin was, in other words, her father was the man she had always liked. The uncle she had always liked. Ding dong. Her phone rang again. Wen Fenglin, where are you? There was no one at home. Ming had gone to the office. Yu Lily's heart was racing. Her hands were trembling. She replied to Wen Fenglin's message. At home. Wen Fenglin, you and Xiao O's new house. Give me the address. Daddy will look for you. Daddy will look for you. Daddy, those 2 words seemed to have been in her life for a very, very long time. At the same time, they were late. The sudden arrival left Yu Lily at a loss. She couldn't accept it. It was something to be happy about, but at that moment, Yu Lily couldn't stop her tears from flowing. Sitting on the sofa, Yu Lily stared at the row of words on the phone screen and suddenly burst into tears. There had been no warning. She didn't even know what she was crying about. But, the emptiness in her heart could only be filled by crying like that. The sound of her unbridled crying was very loud in the empty villa. Yu Lily cried as she called Ming. The call was quickly answered. Ming seemed busy on the other end. The voice was a little noisy. Hello? Ming's voice came through. His unique voice was magnetic and charming. When Yu Lily heard that voice, she felt even more wronged. She sobbed and called out, "Hubby, Ming was in a meeting. The company's top management was reporting on the first quarter of the year." When Ming heard the crying on the other end of the line, his heart skipped a beat. He stood up abruptly and asked, "What's wrong?" The voice of the company executive stopped abruptly. Boo-hoo. Yu Lily was sobbing so hard that she couldn't even form a complete sentence. Ming's expression was grave. He turned around and walked out quickly. "Where are you?" he asked. As he spoke, he had already disappeared, leaving the people in the conference room looking at each other, not knowing what to do next. He quickly rushed home. When he opened the door, he saw Yu Lily sitting on the sofa in a daze. Her eyes were red, and so was her nose. It was obvious that she had been crying. Ming strode forward and pulled her into his arms. He asked in a low voice, "What's wrong? What happened?" Ming. Yu Lily buried her face in his arms and said, "The paternity test results are out." Chapter 1365. Yu Lily laughed when she heard Ming's words. She looked up at him with a pair of watery eyes and said, "I found my father." Oh Ming was stunned. He looked at her and asked, "Who is it?" "It's, Ding Dong." Before Yu Lily could finish her sentence, the doorbell rang. Oh Ming ignored it. He looked down at Yu Lily and asked in a low voice, "Who is it?" "He's here." Yu Lily looked toward the door. Oh Ming frowned. After he released her, he strode toward the door. When he opened the door, he saw Wen Fenglin. Oh Ming was shocked. "Uncle Wen." Wen Fenglin's eyes were slightly red under his round-rimmed glasses, but the dimples on his cheeks showed that he was in a good mood. "Where's Lily?" Before Oh Ming could speak, a voice came from inside. "I'm here." Yu Lily's voice wasn't soft. Soon, Oh Ming heard the sound of footsteps running out from inside. Wen Fenglin looked inside. At the same time, Yu Lily could see what was going on. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. Oh Ming was baffled. He had only been at work for one morning. Why had the two of them become like this? "Come in. Come in and have a seat." Yu Lily waved at Wen Fenglin and quickly pulled Oh Ming in. "Do you want something to drink?" she asked. "No. I'm just here to see you." Wen Fenglin walked in and sat down on the sofa. His eyes were fixed on Yu Lily. "Lily. I really didn't expect this." As he spoke, his eyes reddened. He lowered his head. "So, Xian left me a child. She's such a beautiful and adorable daughter. I really didn't expect this." Yu Lily saw that he was moved. She lowered her head and chuckled. "I didn't expect that the uncle painter that I've always respected would actually be my father." As father and daughter spoke, their eyes reddened. They looked at each other and smiled. The atmosphere was just warm. Oh Ming stood beside them and smiled silently. Everything that happened next seemed to be a matter of course. Wen Fenglin had bought a house near Kingstown. It wasn't big, with 2 bedrooms and a living room. It was enough for him and his daughter. When the news got out, everyone knew that the vagrant painter, Wen Fenglin, had finally chosen a place to settle down. Many old friends from previous years sent their congratulations. Just as they were about to check in, Wen Fenglin even held a banquet. The purpose of the banquet was not only to celebrate that he was no longer a vagabond, but more importantly, to introduce his daughter to the outside world. Looking at the aunties and uncles around her who were obviously very familiar with Wen Fenglin, Yu Lily didn't shy away. She greeted them with a smile and introduced herself. "My name is Wen Lily." In May, the temperature in the imperial capital was much lower than in the south. By the time Oh Ming, Yu Lily, and Wen Fenglin got off the plane, it was already evening. The weather was a little chilly. Although old Mrs. Shen was getting on in years, she was still very playful. When she saw them from afar, she jumped up and shouted, "Lily! Lily! Grandma is here!" Hearing the old lady's voice, Yu Lily smiled, waved at her, and quickly ran toward her. Chapter 1366. Old Mrs. Shen patted Yu Lily up and down. Her smile deepened as she said, "You've finally put on some weight. Wow, you're so pretty. This child is blessed." As she spoke, old Mrs. Shen noticed the 2 men behind Yu Lily. When she saw Oh Ming, it was fine. When she saw Wen Fenglin, she snorted and said, "You're lucky, you brat. You actually got such a good deal. Oh, I like Yu Lily so much. If only Yu Lily was our granddaughter." When Yu Lily heard that, she held on to old Mrs. Shen's arm and blinked. "Am I not now?" Old Mrs. Shen's face lit up. "Yes, yes. Let's go. Grandma will take you to dinner. Are you hungry?" "Yeah. I'm hungry. The airplane food sucks." Yu Lily held onto old Mrs. Shen's arm and smiled sweetly. She turned around and waved at the two men behind her. Daddy, oh, hurry up. Hey, your daddy has a name, but when it comes to your husband, it becomes oh. Can't you be a little more fair? Oh Ming didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He still pulled the suitcase and followed behind them. Slow down. Slow down? I haven't even said anything. Come on, Julia is waiting outside. Old Mrs. Shen patted Yu Lily's hand and whispered, come sleep at my place tonight. Spend the night with me. Yu Lily chuckled and agreed happily. Sure. Old Mrs. Shen was delighted. She held on to Yu Lily's arm even more affectionately. Come on, Grandma will take you to eat roast duck. Shenjilia's car was huge. It was a 6-seater Lincoln stretch limousine. After they got into the car, old Mrs. Shen pulled Yu Lily to the back and told her about the recent happenings. Oh Ming had just finished putting his luggage in and was about to sit beside Wen Fenglin when he heard the person in front say, Oh Ming, you sit in front. Shenjilia glanced at the rearview mirror and said casually, I have something to talk to you about. Oh Ming raised his eyebrows and smiled. It seemed like he had come with ill intentions. But, Oh Ming had no reason to be afraid. He slammed the door and sat in the passenger seat. Shenjilia started the car and asked, when is the wedding? Soon, at the end of the month. Oh Ming glanced at him from the corner of his eyes. He felt a sense of superiority as a victor. I think I sent you an invitation. Didn't you receive it? The relaxed expression on Shenjilia's face faded as he replied, I didn't see it. I threw it away. Oh, we're planning to have a child. But my wife's health isn't very good, so I brought her to the capital to relax. I heard that there's a temple here in the capital that's very efficacious, so I came to take a look and climb the mountain to pray. My wife has been talking about you recently. She said that you're a really good person. She's very happy to be friends with you, Oh Ming said with a smile as if it was no big deal. It sounded like he was praising Shenjilia, but every single word he said was asking for a beating. Shenjilia pursed his lips and tightened his masseter muscles. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was a mistake to let him sit here. Even when this guy wasn't blind, he was still asking for a beating. Heh, is that so? Congratulations. Chapter 1367. It's nothing. I just don't want you to sit with your father-in-law. Shenjilia's voice wasn't loud. As he spoke, he raised his eyebrows provocatively at Oh Ming. Oh Ming chuckled. Why are you so annoying? Compared to you, I'm nothing. Shenjilia drove to a famous roast duck restaurant in the capital. After letting them in first, Shenjilia parked the car and followed them in. Wen Fenglin and old Mrs. Shen hadn't seen each other in a long time. The moment they met, they started talking about Wen Fenglin's younger days. When Wen was young, his looks were impeccable. When he stood with Xian they were a perfect match. Yu Lily listened with great interest as she ate. She nodded her head from time to time. Her vague impression of her mother was starting to clear up. After dinner, Oh Ming subconsciously wanted to take Yu Lily to find a hotel. Who knew that Yu Lily and old Mrs. Shen would end up staying at the Shen residence together? The Shen residence was huge, and there were many guest rooms. Old Mrs. Shen pulled Yu Lily to her room and announced where she would be staying that night. Oh Ming, on the other hand, carried his luggage to the room that the servant had prepared for him and settled down. Wen Fenglin was at ease. When he saw his daughter and son-in-law behaving like that, he smiled happily. After confirming where they would be staying, Yu Lily wasn't in a hurry to sleep. Old Mrs. Shen happily led her around. They walked to the square that old Mrs. Shen frequented. There were many people around old Mrs. Shen's age playing music. The crowd had dispersed, and the old ladies were sitting around chatting. Grandma, do you do square dancing as well? Yu Lily was a little surprised. Old Mrs. Shen replied proudly, you'll know when you see it. As she spoke, she walked over to the group of old ladies and waved her hand. "Sisters, I've brought my adopted granddaughter to see you." Yu Lily couldn't help but smile when she saw old Mrs. Shen's expression. She walked over and greeted them obediently. "Hello, grannies. My name is Lily." "Oh, you're Lily. Old Mrs. Shen keeps mentioning you. You look so pretty. Are you from the south? You're so pretty. Hey, do you have a boyfriend? I have a grandson at home, and he's very handsome." "Go away, how can your grandson be called handsome? Our son is the handsome one." "Lily, do you want to have tea with Grandma and get to know each other?" The old ladies were all very enthusiastic. Yu Lily's smile widened as she said, "I'm already married. My husband has also come to the capital." "Wow, you're getting married at such a young age? Are you 22? Aya, you young people are so impatient. Do you have children now? When are you planning to have children?" Yu Lily was embarrassed. Are these questions that a stranger should ask? Old Mrs. Shen was a little displeased and said, "Shoo, shoo, shoo. I brought my dear granddaughter here to watch us dance." As she spoke, she looked at Lily and continued, "Don't underestimate us old folks just because we're old. We're very nimble. Come on, let's dance for you to see." "Great." Yu Lily clapped her hands in support of him. Old Mrs. Shen turned on the music. The old ladies were very proud of their dance moves. They quickly lined up. Chapter 1368. The old ladies were all wearing elegant spring dresses. The embroidery, muslin, and satin on them were all very Chinese. As the music started, the old ladies' movements began to sway. Their movements were soft and beautiful. They looked gentle, but they were firm and resilient. The 7 or 8 old ladies stood together and began to move in unison. It was very different from the square dances that Yu Lily had seen before. "How is this square dance?" "This is Chinese classical dance." The old ladies' movements weren't as gentle, but they were still very graceful. The night wind blew gently. The trees on both sides swayed gently and rustled. The wind lifted the elegant clothes of the old ladies. It was a beautiful sight. There were many onlookers. When they saw the old ladies dance, many of them picked up their phones to take videos. When the dance was over, applause rang out like raindrops. Yu Lily was also amazed. She applauded sincerely. "It's so beautiful. I didn't know Grandma was so amazing." Old Mrs. Shen was elated by the praise and replied, "Of course. Why else do you think Grandma's health is so good?" "Humph. Ah, no wonder Grandma is not only in good health, but she also looks beautiful." Yu Lily held old Mrs. Shen's arm and giggled. Old Mrs. Shen was overjoyed. "You're such a sweet talker." "Yeah, Grandma, let's go home." Yu Lily looked at the time and said, "It's already 9 o'clock. You should go back to sleep." "Why are you sleeping so early?" "Come, Grandma will take you to eat skewers." "Pfft." Yu Lily almost choked. "Grandma, that's not good for your health. You should eat less." "Hey, are you looking down on me?" "No, I just feel that you should continue to maintain your beauty. Eating this junk food will hinder your beauty." Old Mrs. Shen deliberately kept a straight face, but she couldn't help but laugh. All right. I'm going back. I'm leaving. You guys enjoy yourselves." The surrounding old ladies waved at old Mrs. Shen and said, "Come over early tomorrow night. We'll teach your granddaughter how to dance." "Okay." Yu Lily waved at them. "Goodbye, Grandma." The square wasn't far from the Shen residence, so they arrived quickly. Yu Lily held old Mrs. Shen's arm as they walked in. The first person she saw in the living room was Shenjilia, followed by Shenjilia's brother, Shen Luo. At the same time, Shen Luo's gaze was also directed at her. It was like a sharp X-ray, suddenly attacking her. Yu Lily was shocked. "Grandma, you're back." Although he was speaking to old Mrs. Shen, his eyes were fixed on Yu Lily. "Is this Uncle Wen's daughter, Wen Lily?" Old Mrs. Shen's eyes were fixed on Yu Lily. "Aha." Old Mrs. Shen looked at him as if he already knew the answer and said, "They will be staying at home for the next few days. You should stay at your villa." Shen Luo smiled when he heard that. "There are guests at home, so of course I have to accompany them. How can I stay in the villa? By the way, Manting is back today." She paused, and her eyes fell on Shen Luo's face. Yu Lily didn't know if it was an illusion, but she felt that Shen Luo's expression was somewhat sinister. Shen Luo was not kind to her. In other words, it was as if he did not welcome her presence. Chapter 1369. Shen Luo's words had a deeper meaning. As he spoke, he looked at Yu Lily, but he quickly looked away. When old Mrs. Shen heard Shen Luo's words, she became unhappy and said, "Lily and Ming are my guests." "I know," Shen Luo replied nonchalantly. He stood up and said, "Rest early, Grandma. It's getting late." As Shen Luo spoke, he walked inside. Old Mrs. Shen huffed and held on to Yu Lily's arm. "Don't mind him. He's always been weird. It's been a few years, but he hasn't changed. Sigh. It's all that woman's fault." Yu Lily seemed to have heard the main point. She looked at old Mrs. Shen and asked, "Who? Who else could it be?" "It's..." old Mrs. Shen said. She quickly stopped and said, "Sigh, this is a family matter. If you know, it will only add to your troubles. Lily, do you want to take a shower first?" Old Mrs. Shen didn't want to talk about it, so Yu Lily didn't press her further. When she heard old Mrs. Shen change the subject, she nodded her head and asked, "Where is Ming's room?" "I'll go there to take a shower." "All right, go ahead. Remember to look for me when you're done." Old Mrs. Shen led her to the room that had been arranged for Ming and reluctantly walked away. Yu Lily knocked on the door to indicate that she was going in. She turned the knob. The knob turned, but it didn't budge. The door was locked from the inside. Yu Lily knocked on the door and called out, "Honey, are you inside? Open the door." There was no response. Just as Yu Lily took out her phone and was about to call Ming, she heard the door open. It was dark inside. The lights weren't on. Shen Luo's face quickly appeared behind the door. He looked at Yu Lily with interest. He raised his eyebrows and asked, "Miss Wen, are you looking for me?" Yu Lily was stunned and instinctively took a step back. She didn't know why, but every time she saw Shen Luo, she felt an inexplicable sense of danger. Yu Lily wasn't in a hurry to leave. She looked into the darkness and asked, "Isn't this the room arranged for Ming? Where is Ming?" Shen Luo seemed to laugh. He said softly, "I don't know if Ming was inside or not, but I'm inside now. If you want to come in, I don't mind." These words were said slowly and frivolously. Yu Lily frowned in disgust, but she still said politely, "I'm sorry. Maybe I got the wrong room. I'll leave now. Do you need me to take you, Miss Wen?" "No." Yu Lily's voice was a little shrill, and the disgust in her heart increased. Very quickly, Yu Lily realized that she had overreacted. She said, "I'll look for it myself." "Thank you, Mr. Shen." As she spoke, Yu Lily quickened her pace. She looked like she was about to flee. Shen Luo looked at Yu Lily's back and chuckled. His eyes were filled with malice. Shen Luo closed the door and turned to walk inside. He asked the darkness in front of him, "Am I that scary? Ming's wife seems to be afraid of me, and so are you." Chapter 1370. Shen Luo stepped forward. He looked a little sad. He walked around the king-sized bed and pulled Shen Manting over with his big hands that smelled of disinfectant. Shen Manting bit her lower lip. She didn't speak or make a sound. She closed her eyes and looked like she had accepted her fate. I was wondering why you came to this empty room dressed like this. So, this is O Ming's room? He grabbed her arm with one hand and slowly slid down her face with the other. His fingertips moved from her cheeks to her neck, and then to her proud snow-white peaks. Shen Luo's face was slowly dyed with lust. At the same time, his malevolence deepened. Shen Manting was only wearing a long lace dress. Although the room was very dark, the view in front of her was not covered by the darkness. It was beautiful. Shen Luo had never seen Shen Manting dressed like this. But Shen Manting's attire today wasn't for him to see. He is already married. Why are you seducing him? If you have such thoughts, you might as well think about how to please me. Do you think that I will let you go if you seduce O Ming? Huh? Shen Luo gritted his teeth. Unless you die, otherwise, don't even think about escaping. Shen Manting's mouth was covered, and tears flowed down. She should be in pain, and she should be resisting, but she shamefully felt happy. After a long time, everything calmed down. Shen Manting was still pressed down, but her mouth had been released. She laughed sarcastically. You don't like people touching your things. What about your wife? Have you touched them yourself? Shen Luo's body had not yet been pulled away. When he heard this, he propped himself up slightly and looked at her. What do you mean? Do you know that Yi Yuyu has a man outside? When Shen Luo heard that, he immediately thought of the man he saw next to Yi Yuyu's apartment last time. That man's relationship with Yi Yuyu was indeed a little different. But, that was only if Yi Yuyu was willing to accept it. Yi Yuyu had been stubborn since she was a child. She would not easily let go of what she had set her mind on. Since she was married to him, she would be honest. He knew Yi Yuyu as well as he knew Shen Manting. You want to distract me? Can't you find a better reason? Huh? Do you think that Yi Yuyu is dead set on you? Shen Manting sounded very disdainful. In fact, do you know how many men she has had? Do you know how good Xiaofan is to her now, the most popular male star? What kind of reason do you think a man would treat a woman well? Xiaofan was currently in the limelight because he was the male lead of The Lonely Swordsman. The man was indeed good-looking, but would Yi Yuyu fall for him? Shen Luo chuckled. What are you suspecting? You think there's something going on between them? How do you think she got the second female lead in such a popular TV series? With her previous fame, it's impossible for her to get that kind of role. Isn't that enough to explain the problem? Shen Luo opened his eyes and stared at Shen Manting. The boss of NC Entertainment. Li Xicheng's brother, someone, saw them coming out of the hotel room. With Shen Manting's words, Shen Luo remembered the scene he had seen in the hospital. The way Li Jinan treated Yi Yuyu was indeed different. Could it be that Shen Luo gritted his teeth and propped himself up. He flipped the person under him over and entered her mercilessly with great force. Shen Manting clenched her teeth. Their voices were almost inaudible in the room. All that was left was the sound of him gritting his teeth and growling. Please. Be gentle, don't, Shen Luo seemed to have heard nothing. After releasing her, he threw her to the side and stood up. Shen Manting was finally released. She heard the sound of a metal belt buckle behind her. Then, she heard the door being opened and slammed. Chapter 1371. Finally, he's gone, but with Shen Luo gone, Shen Manting's heart became even emptier. In the darkness, the smell of decay filled her nose. Shen Manting lay on the soft bed, and tears flowed silently from the corner of her eyes. "I'll go find Yi Yu. I've had enough of this kind of life." Yu Lily's footsteps were hurried. When she turned around and saw that Shen Luo and had already returned to his room, she breathed a sigh of relief. She picked up the phone and called Oh Ming. The call was quickly answered. Oh Ming sounded energetic. Obviously, he hadn't slept yet. "Hubby, where are you?" Oh Ming was very quiet on the other end. Soon, his magnetic voice was heard. "I'm at the office. You can sleep with Granny Shen tonight." "I'll sleep in the office." Yu Lily was still in shock. When she heard Oh Ming's voice, she felt wronged. "Why didn't you tell me? I just went to knock on the door, and it was Shen Luo and who opened it. It scared me to death." "Well, didn't you go to play with Granny Shen? I didn't want to spoil your fun. After all, Shen Manting used to be my fiancé. I didn't think it was good for us to live under the same roof, so I came to the office to work overtime." Oh Ming rarely explained in this way. After he said it, even he felt that he had said too much. "Let's go hiking tomorrow." "Well." Yu Lily pouted and said, "Then come and pick me up tomorrow." "Okay." Oh Ming chuckled. "Go to sleep. It's getting late. I still have some work to do, so I can't talk to you anymore. Sleep early. Don't stay up too late." "Yes, my dear wife." Hearing Oh Ming's relaxed and cheerful tone, Yu Lily's originally nervous mood suddenly relaxed. She called out, "Hubby, huh? Good night." "Okay." The next day, Oh Ming came early. He drove an Audi A8 with the capital license plate. It was 8:00 in the morning when he arrived at the Shen residence. Yu Lily had just woken up when she received a call from Oh Ming. She quickly took the time to wash up. By the time she was done, half an hour had passed. When she went out, Oh Ming was sitting in the dining room eating breakfast. When he saw Yu Lily come out, his originally expressionless face softened and he waved at her. Yu Lily quickly walked toward him and looked at the breakfast dishes. There were steamed buns and side dishes, as well as dry noodles and millet porridge. Yu Lily was a typical southerner. She had no appetite when she saw the food. "It's all right." Oh Ming handed over the steamed bun that he had taken a bite of. "Want some?" Yu Lily turned her head away with a look of disgust. The servant quickly asked, "Miss Wan, what would you like to eat?" You of. "I'll have the millet porridge, thank you," Yu Lily said. She turned around and asked, "Where's my father?" One went. "And Mr. Xiao?" "The Vming Shen," the servant said of one. The servant said while scooping porridge, "Our young master will be back soon. He will be your tour guide." "Where do you want to go?" "Wait for our young master to come back and then go together." Yu Lily nudged Oh Ming and said, "Why don't we go by ourselves? It's not good to have Shenjilia be our tour guide." Chapter 1372. That was what Oh Ming was thinking. Let Shenjilia go with them. It would be better for them to explore on their own, however, they still had to eat breakfast. "Let's eat first. There's nothing we can do if we run into them." Yu Lily took the millet porridge from the servant and took a sip. "It's so hot, drink slowly. There's no hurry." Oh Ming took her bowl and handed her a napkin. Yu Lily agreed, but she continued to eat the porridge. Just as Yu Lily was halfway through her meal, the sound of high heels came from inside. Shen Manting came out. She had delicate makeup on her face and was wearing the latest spring dress of a famous brand. The beautiful pink dress accentuated Shen Manting's figure. Especially the silk scarf around her neck, it looked very tasteful. When Shen Manting saw Oh Ming, her eyes darkened. When she saw Yu Lily, her expression didn't change. When Yu Lily saw Shen Manting, her eyes subconsciously fell on the scarf. Then, she lowered her head and ate the porridge. Shen Manting washed her hands and walked to the dining table. She picked up a steamed bun and ate it slowly. From beginning to end, she didn't say hello to O Ming and his wife. It was as if they didn't exist. After Yu Lily finished the porridge, she pulled O Ming's sleeve and said, "Honey, let's go first." Honey, when Shen Manting heard the way he addressed her, she froze for a moment, but she quickly regained her composure. O Ming noticed the slight change in Shen Manting. He already knew what Yu Lily was thinking, but he was very cooperative and said, "Well, okay." When the couple walked out, Yu Lily breathed a sigh of relief and said, "It's so embarrassing. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have listened to Grandma and lived here. I don't like anyone here." Shen Manting did, and so did Shen Luohan. But Shen Jilia didn't live here. Fortunately, Shen Longyue and his wife were traveling around the world and not in the capital. Otherwise, it would have been even more embarrassing. O Ming looked at her softly and asked, "Are you full?" "No." Yu Lily touched her belly and smacked her lips. "Let's go buy something else to eat. The millet porridge is tasteless." O Ming didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Don't you know how to pair it with a side dish? The side dishes aren't that good either. I want to eat fruit pancakes." "Let's go, I know a stall nearby that sells delicious pancakes. I'll bring you there." Yu Lily held onto O Ming's arm in high spirits, but she quickly thought of something and said, "I have to send a message to Shen Jilia to tell him that he doesn't have to come and be our tour guide anymore." "Hey, there's a message from Shen Jilia." Shen Jilia had already sent them a message 10 minutes ago, "The hospital is a little busy today, so I can't leave. You guys have fun. I'll bring you guys out to play at night." When Yu Lily saw the message, she felt relieved and said, "That's great. Let's go. We'll go by ourselves." She excitedly pulled O Ming and ran. But after a few steps, she vaguely felt as if someone was watching them from behind. He turned around and saw Shen Manting standing at the door, staring at them. Yu Lily didn't know why, but she felt a little scared. An uncomfortable feeling immediately seeped out from the bottom of her heart, and her hair stood on end. Chapter 1373. Yu Lily quickly took O Ming to the stall she used to go to. After buying something, O Ming looked a little strange. With one look, Yu Lily knew that he was complaining that the stall was dirty. She stuffed the thing into his mouth and said, "It's okay. I won't die." O Ming took the thing and took a bite. "How is it?" Yu Lily looked at him expectantly, her eyes shining. O Ming nodded his head. "Not bad. I think so. I think it's delicious. Sigh, it's a pity that everything in the capital is congested. Even the subway is crowded. Otherwise, we could try taking the subway in the capital," Yu Lily said. "Let's go. We can eat in the car." The couple looked at each other and smiled. They drove together in the direction of Hongluo Temple. The purpose of their visit was clear: to pray for a child. Naturally, the route was very straight. It was a weekday, so the road wasn't congested, but it still took more than an hour to get there. After parking the car, Yu Lily pulled O Ming inside. Many young couples came and went, and there were also many old people and tourists coming and going. As one of the famous attractions in the capital, even on a weekday, there were many people. Yu Lily pulled O Ming along to pay his respects, and they quickly made their way inside. It was May, and the wisteria flowers were in full bloom. The fragrance of the flowers filled the air, and the tourists coming and going were all taking photos with their phones. Yu Lily saw that they were very happy taking photos, so she picked up her phone and took a few photos. O Ming looked at the photos she took and couldn't bear to look at them, so he looked away. This technique, Yu Lily saw O Ming's expression and was a little unhappy. She pulled him over and said, "Take a few photos." Oh Ming suddenly entered the picture and looked at the beauty effect on the phone screen. He frowned and asked, "Why is it so pink? A straight man like you won't understand. Come on, smile." Oh Ming's lips twitched, and Yu Lily took a photo. Oh Ming and Yu Lily were both good-looking, especially photogenic. After taking the photo, Yu Lily looked left and right and said, "It's really beautiful. They're a perfect match. Hey, hubby, if I post this on WeChat, will people be envious of me?" He knew that Yu Lily didn't like to post on WeChat. But occasionally, he would inadvertently glance at her WeChat moments. There were a lot of likes and comments. Hearing this, Oh Ming thought for a moment and said, "I think so. I'm going to post it." Yu Lily posted the photo she had just taken and edited the caption, "A day trip with my husband to Hongluo Temple." As soon as Yu Lily posted it, someone immediately liked it. Yu Lily was proud of herself and said, "Look, I'm so popular." Yu Lily clicked on her profile picture and glanced at her circle of friends. The latest one was last year. An exquisite French meal, a selfie with short hair, and a bright smile. The script was also very simple: a new hairstyle, a rare feast, I'm so happy. This was what she had posted on her WeChat moments last year, when she was preparing to commit suicide. It had never been updated. Yu Lily's heart was pounding, but she soon relaxed and smiled. At that time, how could she have imagined that she would marry Oh Ming? Now, she had found her father and had her own family. Chapter 1374. Yu Lily's heart warmed a little. She sent the photo she had just taken to Oh Ming's WeChat, then patted him gently and said, "Give me your phone." Oh Ming was a little surprised. She never looked at his phone. "Is she going to check on me?" Oh Ming smiled and handed the phone to her. "Do you want to catch us in the act?" Yu Lily took it, rolled her eyes, and said, "Catch you?" She downloaded the photo and clicked on Oh Ming's WeChat moments. Oh Ming didn't like to post anything. The latest post in his WeChat moments was, "Happy New Year." Before that was last year's Happy New Year. Before that was last year's Happy New Year. Yu Lily was speechless and said, "Hundreds of people liked and replied to such a boring post. The boss is really different." Oh Ming chuckled and hugged her. He looked down at the phone in her hand and asked, "What do you want to do?" Yu Lily sent the photo out and edited it in front of Oh Ming, "A day trip with my wife to Hongluo Temple." Oh Ming let her do what she wanted. He looked at the map and said, "Let's go to the mountain. I heard that the guanine on the mountain is more efficacious. Didn't you say you didn't believe in that? Well, I'll believe it if you believe it." Oh Ming hugged her and walked forward. Yu Lily was a little excited as she looked at the new messages coming from Oh Ming's phone. "Look, they are praising me. Chairman Wang, handsome man and beautiful woman. KW Lu, it's rare to see Oh Ming's selfie. Is it from sister-in-law? IO Technology Miss Guan, it's so beautiful. I'm having fun." Yu Lily was very happy. She quickly put the phone away and followed Oh Ming up Guanyin Road with a smile. Step by step, Yu Lily was soon exhausted. She sat on the ground and panted. "No, I can't walk anymore. I'll carry you. Come up." No, Yu Lily refused without thinking. Yu Lily refused without a second thought. "Your hand has finally recovered. If I press on it again, would I still be considered a human? Shall I carry you?" "No, I'll rest for a while." Yu Lily sat on the steps, panting, and her mind was full of thoughts. She asked, "Oh Ming, do you have any special regrets?" "Yes, there is." "What is it?" "I'll tell you when we get to the top. I heard that there's a very tall tower up there. Making wishes there is very efficacious." "Oh." Yu Lily was still unwilling to get up. "Give me a pull." "I can't get up." Oh Ming smiled and scooped her up. He said, "You're so weak. How about we climb the Great Wall tomorrow to train?" "I'm not going." Yu Lily refused without a second thought. She dragged herself up the stairs. At the peak, the wind was very strong. A strong gust of wind blew on his body, sending a chill down his spine. Yu Lily hugged Oh Ming and shivered in the cold. She asked, "Tell me quickly. Make a wish first." Oh Ming didn't forget his purpose of coming here. Yu Lily was unwilling to let go of Oh Ming. She shouted down the mountain, "I want a child. I want to have a baby, to have a child, children." Yu Lily shouted again, "Oh Ming, I want to bear your child." Oh Ming hugged her and chuckled. "You've scared Guanyin away by shouting like that. It's your turn. Hurry up and shout." Yu Lily urged. "Guanyin won't wait for you. Hurry up and tell her." "Yes." Oh Ming hugged her and shouted, "I want to be with Yu Lily forever." After shouting, he hugged Yu Lily and didn't say another word. Yu Lily was anxious and said, "What about the child? Tell her that we want a child." Chapter 1375. What about children? It doesn't matter. As long as we are together, are you afraid that we won't have children? Yu Lily became even more anxious and said, "How can I not be afraid? Shoo." Oh Ming stopped her from speaking. "Do you want to hear what my regret is?" "I want to, but you have to call for our child first," Yu Lily pleaded. "If you don't call for him, what if he doesn't listen to me and doesn't come?" "Alright, how should I shout?" "That's right, children of Oh Ming and Yu Lily, come here quickly. Daddy and Mommy need you. Daddy loves you. No matter what I did wrong in the past, I know I was wrong. I beg you to come back quickly." Yu Lily's heart ached, and she said, "They won't come back even if you call for them like that. If I'm really pregnant, it can't be twins. This is my greatest regret. My greatest regret is that my twin boys didn't have the chance to be born." Yu Lily felt a lump in her throat, and her eyes immediately turned red. "Are you cold? Let's go." "Yeah." Yu Lily held his arm, wiped her eyes, and nodded. When Yu Lily and Oh Ming returned to the Shen residence, it was already very late. Old Mrs. Shen was drinking tea and chatting with Wen Fenglin and the others. When they returned, Wen Fenglin waved at Yu Lily and said, "Come here. Daddy wants to discuss something with you." Yu Lily blinked her eyes and quickly sat down beside Wen Fenglin. "Oh Ming, come over here too." Wen Fenglin beckoned him over. Oh Ming and Yu Lily were equally surprised. It wasn't often that Wen Fenglin addressed them so seriously. "Dad, what's wrong?" Oh Ming sat down on the sofa and looked at Wen Fenglin with confusion. Old Mrs. Shen smiled and said, "Aren't you guys going to have your wedding soon? I heard from your father that it's on the 9th of next month. It's already the end of the month, and the 9th happens to be the 18th day. According to the customs of the Wuxia Empire, a man and a woman are not allowed to see each other for half a month before their wedding. For the next 10 days, Lily can stay in the capital. Anyway, you've finished your business for the day." Wen Fenglin was of the same mind. He nodded his head and said, "I'll hang out with Lily in the capital for the time being. Oh Ming, you can also go back and prepare for the wedding. The timing is just right." "No. I don't think it's a good idea." Yu Lily and Oh Ming spoke at the same time. Both of them had the same meaning. Old Mrs. Shen took Yu Lily's hand in rebuke and said, "There's a reason why our ancestors passed down this custom. The son and daughter-in-law of the Zhang family next door don't believe in this. They're quarreling every day. Not too long ago, they even lost their child. You can't ignore this nonsense. Furthermore, the two of you have been together for so long. It's good for you to be apart for a while. Don't you agree, Wen? Auntie Shen is right. Lily, listen to Daddy and Grandma." Daddy and Grandma will not harm you. However, O Ming was very determined and said, no way. Chapter 1376. Yu Lily had heard of this custom, but she had never imagined that her father and Granny Shen would put it into practice. I won't be able to see O Ming for more than 10 days straight? Yu Lily was a little reluctant. How am I going to get through so many days? What era are we in? Do you still believe in such things? O Ming's attitude was very firm. No way. I'm going back, and my wife is going back with me. The wedding is just a formality. Our relationship as husband and wife is very good. At the same time, Yu Lily was thinking the same thing. She nodded her head and said, Granny, this is an old saying. Which young person still believes in such things? Furthermore, half a month is too long. It's not that long. When old Shen and I first got married, he was out doing business every day. We were often apart for a year and a half at a time. Don't talk about how long it's been. You've only been apart for half a month. Besides, there's a saying that absence makes the heart grow fonder. Your relationship will only get better in the future. Lily, listen to Grandma, Wen Fenglin said. During this period of time, Daddy will accompany you to have some fun in the capital. Isn't O Ming's company very busy recently? O Ming's father has been very busy lately. It's time for you to go back and share some of the burden with your father. When Yu Lily heard that, she fell silent. Indeed, O Ming had been spending less time at the company recently. Most of the time, he had been accompanying her. Although O Ming's mother hadn't said it out loud, she was definitely unhappy about it. What was the point of spending all day with a woman instead of managing such a big company? When O Ming saw that she seemed to be wavering, he became even more displeased and said, Yu. Yu Lily looked at him and said, my surname isn't Yu anymore. O Ming was used to calling her that. When she said that, he was at a loss for words. Yu Lily thought about it and said, I think Daddy is right. Your father is getting on in years. If he gets too busy, it won't be good. You should go back first. You can set up the company first before I go back. No way. O Ming refused without hesitation. What era are we in? Why are you still so superstitious? O Ming's attitude was very firm. Yu Lily's heart wavered, but she was eventually persuaded by the elders. While they were discussing, the servants had finished preparing dinner. As they sat down at the table, Shen Manting returned home from work. After washing their hands, they sat together to eat. Yu Lily was a little embarrassed. After all, the relationship between them was somewhat complicated. Shen Manting could be considered as her rival in love. Therefore, Yu Lily didn't say anything and just kept eating with her head down. Old Mrs. Shen seemed a little dissatisfied and asked, Where is Luo? Why haven't you come out for dinner yet? The servant heard this and said, Young master went out last night and hasn't come back yet. What about Julia? Why isn't he back yet? Young master just called back and said that there are more patients today, so he can't come back. He might have to work overtime, so he asked you to eat first. Old Mrs. Shen was even more displeased. She glanced at Shen Manting and asked, Why isn't Luo back yet? Do you know where he went? Shen Manting had been silent since the beginning. When she heard old Mrs. Shen's question, she wiped the corners of her mouth with a napkin and said, He probably went to Kingstown. The new book will be released to everyone tomorrow. Book title, 99 Times Over the Wall, Hubby, Can't Help It Introduction, I'll Kiss You Wherever You Kiss Me. She accidentally kissed his crotch, and he put a bounty of 1 million on her head. On the surface, he was a cold-hearted young master who was loyal to the country. But in secret, he was a mysterious king of the underworld. She calculated step by step and cheated him of all his firsts. Then, she left all his assets and ran away. Who knew that the next day, she would be brought to the church with a knife. He announced, "Marry me or die." "Marry me. I'll marry you. Dash." Chapter 1377. Why did you go to Kingstown? Why didn't you tell your family? Old Mrs. Shen was even more displeased. Did you go to find Yi Yu? Shen Manting nodded. I guess so. That's good. Divorce her quickly, and then I'll arrange your marriage for you, old Mrs. Shen said. As old Mrs. Shen spoke, she focused on eating her food. It was as if what she was talking about was no big deal. Yu Lily paused in the middle of eating and looked up at Shen Manting. Shen Manting seemed to lower her head. Yu Lily didn't know if it was an illusion, but she seemed to see a strange expression on Shen Manting's face. Well, I'm full. Shen Manting stood up. Old Mrs. Shen glanced at her bowl and frowned. You only ate so little? Even a cat eats more than you do. Well, I haven't been feeling well recently, and I can't eat much. I'm going back to my room to work, Grandma, Shen Manting said as she turned to leave. Old Mrs. Shen was even more displeased. Work, work, all you know is work. You'd better keep an eye on Shen Luohan. This child runs around all day, and the people from the research department call every day to find him. You should tell him to pay attention to himself. In this family, he will listen to you. When Shen Manting heard that, she felt a little sarcastic. Will Shen Luohan listen to me? How is that possible? Shen Luohan only listens to himself. Everything else is just a plaything. She is, and so is Yi Yu. But Shen Manting still nodded and said, got it. With that, she walked in the direction of her room. Old Mrs. Shen looked at Shen Manting and sighed faintly. She said, when I took a fancy to this child, I thought she would have fate with our family, but I didn't expect it to be fate with Shen Luohan. Anyway, Shen Luohan and Yi Yu are not fated to be together. I can only let Shen Manting marry Shen Luohan. I think this child is also blessed. This child's life carried a baleful aura. This baleful aura not only affected her, but even the people around her would be affected by her. But once this evil will pass, the Shen family will definitely be connected to Shen Luohan. Not only the Shen family, but Shen Manting herself will also be safe for a lifetime. But if she can't endure love, old Mrs. Shen knew this. She could see her destiny, but she could not see through it. Old Mrs. Shen wasn't sure if Shen Manting's evil spirit had passed or not. Come to think of it, he should have passed, right? After all, the last time she tried to commit suicide by swallowing toiletries, it was already a disaster. Old Mrs. Shen frowned and lowered her head to eat. When Feng Lin heard old Mrs. Shen's words, he asked, isn't this girl your granddaughter? To marry your grandson, they've been together for a long time. I don't know what possessed Luohan. In the past, he always wanted to marry Yi Yu, but after they got married, he ignored her. Later on, he got together with Manting. This matter caused quite a stir at the time. Lily should know about it, right? Yu Lily heard that and nodded. I know. That's right. Forget it. Children and grandchildren have their own blessings. Let's wait for him to tell us. Let's eat. Yu Lily had other ideas in mind. According to Yi Qianqian, Shen Luohan hated Yi Yu very much. His attitude was terrible. What was he going to do in Kingstown? Chapter 1378. After dinner, Yu Lily slept with old Mrs. Shen as usual. O Ming went to the office of the branch company in the capital to rest up. He gave Yi Qianqian a call. Yi Qianqian seemed to be very free, so she answered quickly. Oh my, beautiful Lily, didn't you go out with your husband today? Why do you have time to call me? Yi Qianqian's eyes were glued to the computer. She was working overtime. Is your sister around? Yu Lily asked. Yu Yu. Yu Yu isn't back yet. Why are you looking for her? Yi Qianqian looked at the time. It's only 7:00 now. Yu Yu has been home a little late for the past 2 days. I don't know what she's doing out there. Well. Shen Luo and seems to have gone to Kingstown. If you see your sister, tell her that he's probably going to Kingstown to look for her. Huh? Yi Qianqian was a little surprised to hear that, but she quickly reprimanded him and said, don't worry. Shen Luo and might look for anyone, but he would never look for Yu Yu. Shen Luo and has a lot of friends. Perhaps he went to look for his friends. Yu Yu's phone number has already been changed. There's no way he would be able to find her. Hearing that, Yu Lily felt a little relieved and said, that's good. I heard that her relationship with Shen Luo and isn't very good. Didn't I come to the capital recently? I saw him, and I felt a little weird. Why did he feel weird? Do you think he's very fierce? When Yi Qianqian thought of Shen Luo and she became angry and said, that guy is just like that. He's weird. I suspect he's mentally ill. Even when Yu Yu was hospitalized, he would peek at her from the door of the ward. Peek at her? Yu Lily felt her hair stand on end. She felt a wave of disgust. That can't be. Isn't Shenjilia quite normal? He's fine. Why is his brother so weird? Yu Lily didn't dare speak loudly. After all, they were still in the Shen family. If the Shen family heard her badmouthing someone so openly, it would be embarrassing. She replied, who knows? Sigh, to think Shenjilia is a psychiatrist. Didn't he realize that his brother was mentally ill? I reckon that even if he finds out, Shen Luo and won't say anything to Shenjilia. Shenjilia lives outside and doesn't live with his family. As Yu Lily spoke, she felt that she was being a little too nosy. She quickly changed the topic and said, I've already conveyed the message to him. You'd better let your sister know so that she'll be mentally prepared if he really goes looking for trouble with her. I'll go take a shower first. Grandma is still waiting for me to sleep. All right, go ahead. As Yi Qianqian spoke, she suddenly chuckled and said, you have to be careful. Don't let his grandmother take advantage of you. *CK, you think too much. I'm hanging up. Bye-bye. Yi Qianqian heard Yu Lily hang up the phone. She stared at the computer screen and let out a long sigh. She stretched her back and quickly picked up the phone to call Yi Yu's new number. Yi Yu seemed to be a little busy. After a few rings, she finally picked up the phone. Hello, Yu. Where are you? I'm preparing to go back. Okay. Oh, right. Lily just called me and told me that Shen Luo is in Kingstown. You have to be careful. He might come looking for trouble. Chapter 1379. When Yi Qianqian heard Yi Yu's words, her heart skipped a beat. No way. She didn't get a response from Yi Yu. Instead, she heard the busy tone on the other end of the line. Shen Luo looked at the caller on the screen. He raised his eyebrows slightly and said, it's still this person. Did she teach you? You changed your phone number and address. Luckily, you haven't changed your job. Yi Yu's expression darkened even more. She had come to Kingstown to start a new life. Her husband, her past, and everything about her had become unsightly. She had thought that even if she died in Kingstown, Shen Luo wouldn't care or ask about it. She had changed her phone number and moved in with Yi Qianqian only to avoid harassment from her former classmates and gossip reporters. Because the injury on her arm hadn't fully recovered, Yi Yu hadn't been able to film at all. Therefore, she had found a job with her good friend and manager, Mira, to do odd jobs. She had never imagined that Shen Luo would come all the way from the capital to Kingstown just to look for her. Furthermore, he had come all the way to the office. Yi Yuyu looked at the man in front of her with a sinister expression. It was obvious that he wasn't a kind person. Her heart ached. It had been a long time since she had seen him. Shen Luo'an looked even thinner. But, none of this had anything to do with her. Yi Yuyu looked at him and asked sarcastically, "Are you here to divorce me? Why didn't you just give me a call? I'll be back right away. Why did you have to trouble young Master Shen to come all the way here for nothing?" When Shen Luo'an heard that, his already ugly expression darkened even further. It was as if ink had been splashed on his face. Divorce? Shen Luo'an took a step forward and threw Yi Yuyu's cell phone on the floor with a loud clatter. He pinched Yi Yuyu's face and pushed her. Yi Yuyu's body collided with the tall stack of documents behind her. The documents were knocked over and fell onto the table. In the empty office, the sound was particularly loud. "You want to be with your lover after divorcing me?" He pinched Yi Yuyu's cheeks without any mercy. "Your lover treats you really well. Look at what you're wearing. TSK. A gemstone necklace, gemstone earrings, and such a coquettish dress. Yi Yuyu, you've gone to sell yourself, haven't you? How much a night? Do you want your husband to take care of your business?" Shen Luo'an's voice was not loud, but his words were enough to make a woman's eyes redden. Especially the man she had once loved deeply. Looking at the man in front of her, Yi Yuyu's eyes reddened. She struggled hard, and her breathing became heavier. She shouted, "Are you crazy? Let go of me. What do you want?" Not only did Shen Luo'an not let go, but he squeezed her even tighter. "I'm hugging my wife. I'm hugging my wife. Why should I let go?" Shen Luo'an used a lot of strength. He laughed mockingly and said, "Or is it that I can't touch you now, so you want to keep your so-called chastity for your lover? He. Chapter 1380. These words again. Yi Yuyu's eyes reddened. The years of torture and the years of grievance had driven her to the brink of insanity. She tried to explain again and again to let him know that it wasn't her at all. But it was useless. It was useless. Yi Yuyu grabbed his hand with both hands and tried to pull it away, but Shen Luo'an was too strong. She couldn't move him at all. "Shen Luo'an, this is NC Company, not your hospital, and not the Shen family. I advise you to let go. If I don't call the security, you'll be embarrassed." Yi Yuyu's words were full of warning. Her original intention was for Shen Luo'an to let go. But when those words fell into Shen Luo'an's ears, it became a strong provocation. Not only did Shen Luo'an not loosen his grip, but he tightened his grip. His masseter muscles tightened as he raised his other hand and slapped it hard on Yi Yuyu's face. Slap. The loud voice was even more ear-piercing in this quiet space. Yi Yuyu turned her head in disbelief and looked at Shen Luo'an. Her eyes were full of disbelief. Her face was burning. The feeling was unfamiliar, but it was like it had drilled into her bones. It hurt so much that her whole body was twitching. Shen Luo'an's eyes were red, and he roared, "B*tch. How dare you be so arrogant after cheating? You're so F*king B*tch." As he spoke, his free hand lifted Yi Yuyu's skirt and touched her lower body. Yi Yuyu screamed and finally couldn't help but panic. She pressed his hand with both hands and shouted, "Shen Luo'an." Such an action was even more maddening in the eyes of a man. Shen Luo'an clenched his teeth and sneered. He rubbed it hard and growled, "I haven't even touched you, and you have another man. B*tch, what are you doing?" A loud voice interrupted Shen Luo'an's words. Before Shen Luo'an could turn around, his arm was held tightly. Yi Yuyu's heart calmed down. She turned her head gratefully and saw a familiar face. "Ha, it's really you." Shen Luo and released Yi Yuyu and swung his fist at Li Jinnan's clean face with all his might. Li Jinnan had just finished his work and was holding a laptop in his hands. Out of the corner of his eye, Li Jinnan caught a glimpse of Shen Luo and's fist coming toward him. The sharpness of a soldier suddenly burst forth, and he reflexively lifted the computer to block Shen Luo and's fist. Shen Luo and's punch missed, and he was furious. He was about to punch again, but Li Jinnan's skill was obviously better than his. She turned the laptop around and slammed it into Shen Luo and's face. Shen Luo and screamed in pain and immediately turned his face away. Li Jinnan took the opportunity to twist the bones in his hand and pin him to the ground. Shen Luo and's hands were twisted, and his head was pressed to the ground by Li Jinnan's laptop. He struggled for a while, then suddenly laughed. "I've long heard that third young Master Li has an extraordinary background. You're a retired major, but I didn't expect you to be so powerful." Of course, Li Jinnan knew this person. He narrowed his eyes and said in a deep voice, "This is my company. I have no opinion on what you want to do with your wife, but you'd better change the venue. Otherwise, I'm afraid you'll have to spend the night at the police station." Chapter 1381. Li Jinnan turned his head and saw Yi Yuyu's swollen face. He frowned and asked, "Did he really hit you?" He seemed to have heard something, but he couldn't hear it clearly. He didn't expect that the man would really hit a woman. "You're not a man." Li Jinnan's tone was scornful. When Shen Luo heard that, his masseter muscles tightened. He struggled even harder and said, "Damn it. Let go of me." "Let go of you? What do you want?" Li Jinnan had no intention of letting go. He handed the laptop to Yi Yuyu. "Hold it for me." Yi Yuyu reached out to take it, but Shen Luo took advantage of the moment when Li Jinnan let go to suddenly flip over and sit up. He turned around and pushed Li Jinnan hard. Li Jinnan didn't react in time. When he was pushed away, his whole body fell backward. But, he was a martial artist after all. Li Jinnan's body staggered, but he quickly steadied himself and caught him. Shen Luo's eyes were filled with indignation. He reached out and wanted to choke Li Jinnan, but his hands were firmly locked behind his back. It was obvious that the strength and skills of the two were not on the same level. Shen Luo's hands were twisted painfully. He sneered and said, "Yi Yuyu, are you trying to murder your husband with your mistress?" "Mistress?" Li Jinnan frowned and tightened his grip. In a low voice, he said, "Watch your mouth." Shen Luo's hands were locked behind his back. The pain made his face pale, but his expression became more sinister. He sneered and said, "You dare to do it, but you don't dare to let others talk about it?" The boss of NC Entertainment, the pride of the Li family, third young Master Li, actually keeps a man with a woman. If this gets out, what do you think the consequences will be? Shen Luo, watch your mouth. GM Li and I don't have that kind of relationship. Don't think that everyone is as dirty as you. Yi Yuyu was so angry that her face turned red. She shouted, "I don't know why you came to Kingstown. If you just came to humiliate me out of boredom, then congratulations. You've succeeded. Can you get out now?" Shen Luo's face darkened. He stared at Yi Yuyu and said, "If it's not that kind of relationship, are you selling yourself for a job?" "Shut up." Li Jinnan gritted his teeth and dragged him toward the elevator. "You are the young master of the Shen family in the capital. Have you lost your manners?" Li Jinnan grabbed Shen Luo and quickly made his way to the elevator. Yi Yuyu grabbed Li Jinnan's laptop and quickly followed him. She pressed the button for the elevator. "You have manners. Wait till your wife makes you a cuckold. Let's see if you still have that kind of manners." Shen Luo'an's lips seemed to be curling into a smile, but the malice and viciousness in it were completely exposed. You're also a beast in human clothing. Otherwise, why would you sleep with someone else's wife? That made Li Jinnan even angrier. After they got out of the elevator, Li Jinnan shoved Shen Luo'an forcefully and said, "She's your wife. What's in it for you to humiliate your wife like that? I don't have that kind of relationship with her." He looked at Li Jinnan and raised his eyebrows. He tilted his head and looked at them. His gaze was indescribably sinister. That had better be the case. Otherwise, no one will have an easy time. As he spoke, he looked at Yi Yuyu. "Come here, my wife." The new book, 99 Times Dating, Hubby, Can't Help It, has been published and is awaiting review. It will be available to everyone in the morning. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.